Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto is a cold distant shinobi part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Now that the students have graduated, we need to decide teams and which jonin shall become their senseis. Any sug. Hatake Kakashi must become Uchiha Sama's sensei. Nobody else is qualified. An old man sighed as he was interrupted. Sarutobi Hiruzen was an old man, but he was also the Hokage, strongest ninja in the village. He was in a council meeting to decide how to place the new academy graduates together, and who would be best to teach them further. Normally it would just be him and the Chunin instructors making these decisions. However, this class was full of many prominent clan heirs, and as such, he felt the clan heads should get a say if they wished. However, that meant a council meeting, and unless it was wartime, calling a council meeting also meant calling in the civilian side. And the civilian side had spent the years since the Uchiha massacre doing any and everything in their power to make sure the only Uchiha left, Sasuke, got whatever he wanted as well as the best of it. It was getting quite annoying. Kakashi already has a student, and after the incident he has expressed his personal feelings against getting another full team. Sarutobi countered. He knew full well that Kakashi never wanted a team in the first place, but the one he was placed with almost 3 years ago grew on him. Then it happened and he's down to one final student, and neither are wanting to bring in others. But who else could teach Uchiha-sama how to use his Sharingan when he awakens it? Another civilian pointed out. Most of the civilians nodded in agreement, and a couple clan heads secretly admitted they actually brought up a valid point. Then once he awakens it, I can have Kakashi give him private lessons in his spare time on the proper usage of the dojutsu. Hiruzen was really hating the council right now. What started as a simple meeting to let the clan heads offer their own input for their children's education and careers turned into another glorify Uchiha-sama argument. He was getting sick and tired of these. From 4 years ago, when they wanted to force him into the CRE to produce more Sharingan ninja, to just last year when they wanted him to graduate early. They wanted to give Sasuke everything without him having to lift a finger. Just place him as Uchiha-sama's sensei, spoke an older woman with pink hair and green eyes. Haruno Masaki, mother to Haruno Sakura and owner of a small business, was the only civilian council member to actually have a child in the graduating class this year. So if she was offering her input about her own daughter, the old Hokage would have been glad to hear it. However, she was the staunchest supporter of the glorify Uchiha-sama movement, so to speak. Hatake-san is only teaching the demon anyways. It's not like that thing needs anything. Sarutobi narrowed his eyes, as did a few of the shinobi side of the council. Uchiha-sama needs the best, we have to teach him, and that's Hatake-san. To hell with the demon brat, you're the Hokage. Just order him to teach the boy and everything will be fine. You're correct, I am the Hokage and my orders are to be followed. Hiruzen started, getting many of the civilians to smile. So I order you to never refer to young Naruto-kun as a demon again, or I'll have you removed from the council. He ordered, causing those who smiled to change to scowls. Ever since the incident, Naruto-kun has latched on to the only stable figure in his life, his sensei Kakashi. If I removed him from his life, there's no telling the effect it could have on the boy. As a Jinchuriki, his mental and emotional well-being is just as important as his physical. I will not be removing Naruto-kun from Kakashi's tutelage. If I may, Hokage-sama? Yamanaka Inoichi asked. Head of the Yamanaka clan and one of the top interrogators and psychiatrists in Konoha, also the proud father of Yamanaka Ino. At the old man's nod, Inoichi continued. I saw to Naruto after the incident, and I've been checking up on him on a bi-monthly basis since. I can honestly say that removing Kakashi from his life would break what he has left. No matter what else is decided here, that is something that must not be done. Naruto already lost control to the Kyuubi from a loss once, removing Kakashi would likely cause it to happen again. This got many council members to pale, while some were still scowling at how nobody would give Sasuke to Kakashi to teach. However, Inoichi continued, they provide a valid point about Kakashi being the only one who could teach Sasuke about the Sharingan. What I suggest is a compromise. Talk to Kakashi and convince him to take on another 2 students to have a full team again. He'll stay with Naruto like they both want, and then place Sasuke under his care as well to placate the other council members. Hiruzen sighed. He knew he could do that, and was hoping nobody would suggest it simply because he had no argument against why not. He honestly couldn't see any reason outside of Kakashi's reluctance to teach a full team again. But as a Kage and as ninja, he had to give out orders that weren't liked by either yet still had to be followed. Many of the civilian council were seeing this as the only way to get Kakashi to teach Sasuke since they couldn't take him away from Naruto without risk. And then Inoichi spoke another reason and Sarutobi lost his only hope for arguing against it. I also think it would benefit Naruto himself. He's been cold and distant to everyone outside of Kakashi since, and he needs to make some friends his own age. This would easily be for the best since Sasuke has the same problem making friends he does. The two would hopefully be able to connect and perhaps help each other. Personally, I find this to be the best option. Place Sasuke and another graduate with Naruto under Kakashi, it would be best for everyone. Uchiha Sasuke was happy, or rather as close to happy he's been since the massacre. He had just graduated from the Ninja Academy as the Rookie of the Year, the top student in his age group. In fact, the teachers were even saying he was one of the best ever. But how could he not be? He was an Uchiha, they were always the best, the elite. And now with his graduation into the ninja ranks of Konohagaku no Sato, he was ready to begin his life's mission of killing the man that ruined his life. His elder brother Uchiha Itachi. So as Sasuke sat in his seat near the window plotting his vengeance, he was also patiently waiting for their sensei to arrive and tell them what was going to happen next. Sasuke wore his ever-so-common outfit of a blue shirt with the Uchiha fan on the back and white shorts. Simple, bold, and it declared his clan's power to anybody smart enough to recognize the fan. He held his hands in front of his face, and his eyes seemed to be staring off into space, but that was normal. Any moment at the academy when he wasn't being taught the skills he needed, he would assume that pose and just plan out his future encounter against his brother. Different every time too, but that was mainly because he didn't know when or where he would encounter Itachi. One thing remained the same though in all of his vengeance scenes though, every one ended with Itachi dead at his feet. Sasuke's inner plotting was disturbed as two girls ran in through the door and started arguing about who arrived first. One was blonde with blue, pupil-less eyes. Her hair was made up into a ponytail, and she wore a purple two-piece outfit and then used the common ninja wraps to cover herself underneath the cloth. The other had bright pink hair and wore a red one-piece with white outlines and a white circle on the back. The two were butting heads as they argued, and Sasuke held back a groan of annoyance. Yamanaka Ino and Harino Sakura, his two biggest fangirls in the village. Contrary to the belief of the many boys of the academy, he was not gay. The reason he never gave his fangirls the time of day was simple and twofold. 1. He wasn't going to bother with a relationship until after he achieved his life's goal of killing his brother. And 2. When he finally would get into a relationship, he wanted it to be with a strong kunoichi that wasn't afraid to tell him no or assert her own opinion. A useless yes man was just annoying and irritating. If any of these fangirls were to take their training seriously and weren't afraid of standing up to him, then he just may have taken one on a date, just to see what it would be like. So far the only girl that didn't bow down at his feet was the class Hyuga, Hinata. But she never showed interest in anybody, and she, while better than most girls, wasn't very strong. So Sasuke just ignored her, like everyone in class seemed to do since she never drew attention to herself. Sasuke's thoughts were again disrupted as Ino and Sakura fought over the chair next to him. This was one of the few times Sasuke regretted focusing so intently on his training. He had no friends, so he couldn't have one sit next to him to avoid the daily battle the two fangirls had. Still though, he dealt with it. Friends would just slow him down, and the annoying battles, if anything, gave him experience in developing a good poker face. Eventually Sakura claimed the chair and started to try and ask him on a date, or get him to talk period. Sasuke stayed silent as he once more delved into his mind to plot against his brother. "Good morning, class," a voice called out. Everyone turned their attention to the man that entered, Yumino Irika. He wore the standard Chunin outfit of blue long-sleeved shirt with blue shinobi pants and a green flak jacket. Covering his forehead was the headband of the village ninja, and across his nose was a long horizontal scar nobody knew where he got. "Today you are all genin of the village. You are now ninja of Konoha and will now go out to start your careers. No matter what happens, know that I am proud to have taught each and every one of you. From today onwards we will be comrades, not just sensei and student." He spoke with conviction and confidence that had many of the students smiling at his words. Irika cleared his throat before grabbing a clipboard from his desk. "Now you will all be split into groups of 3 and placed under a Jonin sensei who will further your education along with leading you on missions for the village and the Hokage. Take care of each other and follow your teacher's orders, and I can promise you that you'll go far." Sasuke held back another groan. He was being placed on a team, but others would just slow him down. Even the second and third students in the academy were too slow to keep up with him. Sasuke tuned out Irika's voice, only paying enough attention to recognize his own name. If he was going to be paired with a couple losers, then he was hoping he'd at least get the two best. It was his only hope. Team 7 will be Inuzuka Kiba, Aburame Shino, and Hyuga Hinata. Your Jonin sensei will be Yahi Kurinai. Team 8 is Nara Shikamaru, Akamichi Choji, and Yamanaka Ino. Your sensei is Sarutobi Asuma. And that's every team. Irika concluded as he set the clipboard down. But a couple were confused. They paid attention and noticed there were 2 leftover students. Sakura, being one of them, raised his hand to ask what was going on. Sensei? What about me and Sasuke-kun? You didn't assign us a team," she pointed out, and now the students that weren't paying attention noticed and were. Irika's eyes went wide before he gave a small embarrassed grin. "Sorry, I forgot to mention it. You see, there weren't enough graduating students this year, so you two are instead being paired with a student who recently lost his teammates." "Lost them? What do you mean?" Sakura asked. "And who are we being placed with?" "I mean he's no longer on a team with them. They might have died on a mission. Or perhaps it's simply that they were promoted and he wasn't. There can be many reasons why someone loses their teammates, but it's usually nothing to worry about. As for who, he'll be coming here with his sensei to pick you up," Irika explained. Sakura looked satisfied and was happy that she was going to be with her Sasuke-kun. Sasuke, on the other hand, was torn between cursing and praising his luck. Cursing it because he was with Sakura and another person. Praising it because said mystery member has been a ninja for at least a year, meaning he had to have experience and could handle himself. So he knew at least one person on the team would be able to handle themselves. Iruka congratulated them once more and then left, telling them they had an hour to themselves before they had to be back to be picked up by their senseis. Most of the students simply went to lunch with their new teammates, while Sasuke just left without a word to contemplate his new situation, while Sakura tried to ask him to lunch, but was ignored. An hour later and all the students were back and sitting next to their team chatting about one thing or another. Sasuke was once more in his seat in common pose with Sakura sitting next to him, looking slightly down that she didn't get to eat with her crush. Then shortly after, Jonin began coming in one by one and picking up their teams. Pretty soon only teams 7 and 8 plus Sasuke and Sakura were left. The door opened again and they turned their head to see who it was. Imagine their surprise when it was a boy their age. He was wearing a dark blue t-shirt underneath a black jacket with a red swirl on the back. His right hand had on a fingerless black glove while his left had a small silver gauntlet that covered his hand and arm up to the elbow. He was wearing the standard shinobi pants colored black and dark blue ninja sandals. Tied to his right leg was a kunai pouch while his headband was tied to his head by a dark red cloth with long straps that went down his back. But the most identifying features on him were easily his face and hair. 3 long whisker marks on each cheek and spiky yellow hair. And then there were his eyes. They were a deep bright blue, but if you looked close enough you could tell there was anger and sorrow behind the seemingly bright and happy look they gave off. As everyone stared at them, his eyes swept over the class. Sasuke noticed that he wasn't just doing it to see who was there. He had experience. His guard was relaxed but not down. His eyes, while looking at the students, were also scanning the room for anything of interest. The way he stood showed he was ready to snap into position at the slightest hesitation. This kid was a warrior, a true ninja. Sasuke was barely keeping the smirk off his face, hoping this was to be his new teammate. The ninja's eyes seemed to rest on Kiba for a moment longer than everyone else before he turned to the rest of the genin. Uchiha Sasuke and Harino Sakura, follow me. He called out before turning and leaving without a word. Sasuke finally let his smirk through before getting up and walking out with Sakura following quickly. They left and followed the boy out of the academy and to one of the many training grounds Konoha had for their ninja. He stopped at one that had 3 logs standing at its center, a small stream running through to their left, and a large tree all in the middle of a clearing surrounded by trees. The ninja turned around and looked them over closely, quite aware of the fact they were doing the same to him. After a few minutes of silent staring, Sakura couldn't take it anymore and spoke. "So who are you? And who's our sensei?" she asked. Sasuke and the boy broke the slight staring contest they seemed to have fallen into before looking at her. The boy took a deep breath and then walked over to one of the logs before sitting on it. "My name is Uzumaki Naruto, and my sensei is Hatake Kakashi," he said with a cold voice. Sakura seemed confused, but Sasuke scowled. "What the hell's your problem?" "My problem, Uchiha, is that I never wanted new teammates. Sensei and I were fine on our own, but the council was throwing a fit to get him to teach you. The only compromise Hokage-sama could do was to place you on my team. They wanted to just drop me and have him exclusively teach you." Naruto spat out with a glare at Sasuke. The boy just smirked in response. "So? I'm an Uchiha, we always get the best." Sakura started fawning over how cool Sasuke was, but Naruto just grit his teeth. "Shut the hell up," he shouted at her. She looked shocked that he would instantly yell at her, but before she could respond his attention was back on Sasuke. "Listen here, Uchiha, I don't give a shit about how great your clan was. You're the last one in Konoha, and as such the council is just kissing your ass in the hopes you won't go nuts and leave like Itachi did. And besides, out on the battlefield, a name means shit. You could be named Kami-sama herself, but it doesn't matter if you don't have the skills to back it up. So don't walk around thinking you're top dog, because I can guarantee you that I can kick your ass so fast you wouldn't even notice it's been kicked. And I was the dobe of my class 3 years ago." Like I'd ever lose to a dobe," Sasuke grunted out with a smirk still in place. Naruto narrowed his eyes. "Wanna bet?" Sasuke just scoffed. "Bring it, do dash." Sasuke never finished as he was on the ground with a kunai to his throat and a very painful red mark on his left cheek as Naruto was kneeling over him staring right at him. "Dead. And you never saw me coming. Your name means nothing to me or anybody else that has any actual skill. Until you can back it up, keep that ego of yours in check. Or I will." Naruto spoke clearly as the entire field seemed quiet, and for the first time since his brother's psychotic massacre of his clan, Sasuke felt fear. The cold metal of the kunai was pressed right up against his Adam's apple. Naruto was staring down at him with a look of hate and indifference. And it was true what he said, Sasuke never saw him coming. In fact, he hadn't even seen him twitch. "You can't do that to Sasuke-kun. Let him dash." Sakura started before going silent as a kunai was pressed up against her neck from behind. Sasuke and Sakura looked to see another Naruto holding the weapon at her throat with the same look as the other one. "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Shadow clone technique, my most used jutsu, and my most basic. Unlike the parlor trick clones taught at the academy, mine are real. And when they dispel, I gain their memories and any leftover chakra they had," Naruto explained before withdrawing the weapons and stepping back. The Naruto behind Sakura disappeared in a puff of smoke, while Sasuke slowly got up and glared at Naruto. Sakura wanted to glare at him but was too busy trying to calm her heart rate down first. I don't care if you were the dobe or the rookie of the year, you're fresh out of the academy and that means you suck. The council may have forced you on sensei and me but that doesn't mean I have to put up with any of your shit. Keep your ego in check, Uchiha. And Haruno, drop the fangirl act or I will slit your throat. You are a disgrace to Kunoichi everywhere if you think that shit will fly on a real mission. You'll only get yourself and others killed. Naruto ordered before sitting back down on the log. Sasuke grit his teeth as he glared at Naruto and Sakura took a few deep breaths before looking around. Where's sensei? I just noticed he wasn't here. Naruto rolled his eyes as now Sasuke looked at her in disbelief. You had best start training harder, Haruno, if you only just now noticed he's not here. Naruto said. She glared at him but a cold glance back had her avert her gaze. Kakashi-sensei is late to anything and everything that's not an A or S-ranked mission. So anytime he says to meet somewhere, feel free to show up an hour or two later than the time he picks. They both stared at him like he was joking and he just sighed. No, I am not kidding. Me and my team thought it was stupid first too and we'd show up on time just to see if he would one day to catch us off guard but he doesn't. I'm dead serious. Bearing A and S-ranked missions he will always be somewhere around 2 or 3 hours late. The only reason he's allowed to get away with it is because he's one of the top jonin in the village, easily at the top of the very small list of potential Hokages should the Sandaime retire again. Naruto explained. Both Sasuke and Sakura looked at him, and then each other before looking back at him to find him looking up at the sky. Who the hell do you think you are? Sasuke demanded. When Naruto turned his face down and glared at him he flinched but didn't look away. I think I'm annoyed. And I know I'm your better. Sasuke growled and Naruto scoffed. Want to hear a trick? I can tell what the two of you are thinking. This got Sakura to look at him in confusion, while Sasuke kept up his glare. Naruto just slightly smirked and started. You, Uchiha, are thinking about how dare I not automatically respect you for your clan. About how angry you are at how easily I subdued you. And about how the girl next to you is going to hold you back since it's obvious I won't. That got Sasuke to look shocked as he seemed to be exactly right. Sakura glanced over at Sasuke but turned her attention back to Naruto when he started on her. You, Haruno, are a little harder to read but that's because there's so much going through your mind right now. Mainly though it seems to be shock, anger, fear, and a small amount of sadness and disappointment. You're shocked and fearful of my skills and what the Uchiha seems to think of you. You're angry at me for harming said Uchiha and for shouting at you. And you're sad and disappointed that the Uchiha seems to think so little of you. Naruto said. Sakura hung her head as he accurately read her mind. Suddenly there was a swirl of leaves in front of Naruto, and the other two new ninja looked to see a jonin with gravity-defying spiky gray hair, and his headband tilted to cover one of his eyes. He also wore a cloth that covered his face from his nose down, effectively making it so only one eye was seen on his entire face. Hey Naruto, do you know where the new students are? I went to the academy to pick them up but all the students were gone. He asked, completely oblivious to the two others staring at him in shock. Naruto just shook his head at the man and pointed behind him. HM? Oh, you went and picked them up already. Well, that saves time. You're always late and I didn't feel like waiting for 3 hours for you so I lied about the time to you and grabbed them early. Hey Naruto, they look a little scared or angry at you for some reason. Mind explaining? Kakashi asked as he looked closely at Sakura and Sasuke, completely ignoring Naruto manipulating him slightly and going behind his back. Said Blonde just grinned. I pulled the mind trick. Kakashi laughed and rubbed the back of his head. Naruto, that's not very nice to do to your new teammates. Just cause she taught you to read a person just from their face doesn't mean you should freak people out and make them think you're a Yamanaka now. He said as Naruto chuckled slightly. You know, I wonder if she'd be happy you learned to do that so well or angry that you're copying her favorite prank. Kakashi wondered out loud. Naruto just smiled sadly and looked back up at the sky. Don't know. I wonder about that myself. He answered. Kakashi just looked at him for a few moments before sighing and turning back to the other two. By now they seemed to have gotten over the shock of him appearing out of nowhere. And slightly over their anger at the blonde in Sakura's case and fear in Sasuke's. So seeing all that, Kakashi decided to start talking and introduce himself. Alright, well let's get started then. My name is Hitaki Kakashi and from today on I'm going to be your Jonin sensei. Why don't we learn a bit more about each other now? Why don't you tell your likes, dislikes, as well as any hobbies you have and your dreams for the future? He spoke, then Naruto flicked a small pebble at the back of his head without looking. Kakashi turned to him and mock glared as the blonde just smirked. You're doing it again, sensei. Kakashi sighed. Right. I'll start. I like dogs and reading my books. A dislike of mine is people who don't like my books. As for hobbies, I mostly just spend my free time reading or spending time with Naruto here. And I don't feel like telling you my dreams for the future. Kakashi said. Naruto sighed and faced them after a small glance at Kakashi. At least it's better than the first time you did that. He muttered before clearing his throat. I like ramen and relaxing atop the Hokage monument looking over the village. I dislike the ignorant and hateful, the time it takes to cook ramen, as well as the entire village of Iwagakure. This got a couple raised eyebrows, but he continued without a care. My hobbies are gardening and training, and my dream is to become the Hokage so that I can protect the village. Sakura and Sasuke looked them over, taking in the information before Sasuke decided he might as well talk. I don't really have anything I can claim to like, and I don't like far too many things to name. If I had to name something as a hobby, it would be that I spend my free time training. And I don't really have a dream for the future, cause I know it's going to happen because I will make it happen. I'm going to rebuild my clan after I kill a certain person, Sasuke said, clenching his fists and looking down towards the end of his little show and tell. Sakura looked at him with a blush, thinking he was so cool, and other such fangirl-related subjects, as Kakashi seemed impassive, and Naruto just scowled at the attitude he had. They all then turned their attention to Sakura, and she seemed to realize they were no waiting on her. The person I like is, she muttered as she snuck a glance at Sasuke, though they all saw it. My hobbies are again another glance towards the Uchiha. My dreams a third glance, and by this time they all were getting annoyed at her behavior. Dislikes? Kakashi asked when she seemed to get lost in her dream world of Sasuke. This girl named Ino and people who make fun of me, she responded. Kakashi just nodded his head and started speaking. Okay, you two. Before we can go on missions or anything else, I need to know what you can do. So there's going to be a little spar first. Naruto? Kakashi gestured as the blonde stood up from the log and walked over to the side. Now, fight him with everything you've got. We need to see what you have so I know what to train you both in. Sensei? Who should he fight first? Sakura asked. This got Naruto to laugh. Oh no, he didn't mean one-on-one. Both of you same time, right now. Bring it. Okay, you two. Before we can go on missions or anything else, I need to know what you can do. So there's going to be a little spar first. Naruto? Kakashi gestured as the blonde stood up from the log and walked over to the side. Now, fight him with everything you've got. We need to see what you have so I know what to train you both in. Sensei? Who should he fight first? Sakura asked. This got Naruto to laugh. Oh no, he didn't mean one-on-one. Both of you same time, right now. Bring it. The blonde declared as he got into a ready stance. Sasuke smirked, thinking he could get some payback early, while Sakura still looked unsure. But we might really hurt you. Her response got both Naruto and Kakashi to laugh. Kakashi got his under control as Naruto was still trying to make sure he wouldn't fall over. Naruto will be fine, Sakura. This is going on his 3rd year as a genin now. And he's very powerful. Trust me, if you actually hurt him, I'll pay you. Even I have to be careful around him, Kakashi said. Sasuke now looked more determined than ever to fight and got ready, as Sakura still looked worried but got into a loose stance. Now remember, you two, don't hold anything back. If you have a trick you think can work, use it. If you have any jutsu outside the Academy 3, use them. Naruto will stick to a defensive style only so that you two can show off all of your skills. But you should still be careful and try to take him down quickly, because after a while I'll tell him to switch to offense to see how you both handle defense. Now are you all ready? The silver-haired man asked as he looked over the 3 children. 2 looked determined while 1 was still unsure but willing to try. Alright then. Hajime. Instantly Sasuke rushed forward and threw out a right hook towards Naruto's face. The blonde ninja caught the fist in his left before using his other hand to grab Sasuke by the collar and flipping him over his shoulder and slamming him into the ground. Naruto then leapt back a couple feet and kept his eyes peeled for any tricks he might have done while simultaneously keeping Sakura in sight. Sadly, the pink-haired girl didn't even try to attack him or anything of the sort. Rather, she ran over to Sasuke yelling Sasuke-kun at the top of her lungs and helping the Uchiha stand. Naruto rolled his eyes while Sasuke just roughly shrugged her off and stood on his own. He then pulled out a kunai and held it in reverse grip as he charged again. Sakura by now realized that she actually needed to do something and started to think of what she actually could do. She didn't have anything special outside of the Academy 3, and she knew it. She was from a civilian family, meaning they couldn't teach her anything that could help her with her career choice. As she watched Sasuke rush forward and begin slashing at Naruto while also punching and kicking to attack, she saw that the whiskered boy would effortlessly dodge the punches and kicks and use the silver gauntlet on his left arm to block any kunai slashes that got too close. Sasuke-kun can't get him if Naruto's focused just on him. I need to draw his attention somehow. Stand still! Sasuke shouted angrily as Naruto blocked a punch and held back the kunai with his armored hand. Naruto just rolled his eyes at the Uchiha, getting him even angrier at him. Who the hell is this bastard? He's barely even trying to hold me back. And Sakura is still as useless as ever. I need an opening. As if to answer Sasuke's silent prayers and to prove him wrong, Sakura suddenly threw out a handful of shuriken at Naruto, getting him to jump back. She then threw more at him to keep him occupied. The blonde just whipped out a kunai and started deflecting the weaponry with precision, knocking each metal star into the ground instantly. As Sakura did, Sasuke smirked, thinking this was his chance to prove his superiority. He took a deep breath as he ran through the need seals and gathered the required chakra. Katon, Gokake no Jutsu. Fire release, great fireball technique. Naruto turned his attention to Sasuke as he launched a fireball at him. Naruto smirked and channeled chakra into his gauntlet before holding his hand out and slamming it into the oncoming fire. Naruto was pushed back a little before he channeled chakra to his feet. With a loud yell, he shoved his hand further, and the fireball seemed to break and fall apart. Naruto looked at the shocked faces of his opponents and smirked. Please tell me you can do better than that? Sasuke just stood mouth agape at how Naruto easily disabled his best jutsu while Sakura was staring at him like he wasn't human. Alright Naruto, I think that's enough testing their offense. Why don't you test their defense now? Kakashi called out. Gladly. Naruto seemed to vanish before appearing before Sasuke and throwing out a punch. It was quite obvious to both of the new ninjas that he was holding back. After all, last time they didn't even see him. Sasuke did his best to move out of the way and barely managed it before Naruto kneed him in the gut. He then quickly hit Sasuke with an uppercut before vanishing and appearing by Sakura. She barely had time to turn and face him before his fist buried itself in her face and sent her flying back. She was knocked unconscious and Sasuke was breathing heavily as he tried to just sit up from where he landed on the ground. Kakashi shook his head. Naruto, we needed to see what they could do. You were supposed to hold back. I did, sensei, and you know I did. They're just too weak. Naruto countered. Kakashi sighed and helped Sasuke up and leaned him against one of the 3 logs before he sat Sakura against one. So now what? The only thing I can say was worthwhile was the Uchiha knowing a Katon jutsu. And even that was pathetic. He used a C-rank jutsu like an amateur. That was hardly better than a D-rank attack. Sasuke glared at him and Kakashi sighed again. Naruto, they don't have any experience yet. You can't expect them to match you right off the bat. I'm not. I'm expecting them to match what we were like when we first started 3 years ago. And they can't even do that. Naruto shouted. Kakashi turned towards him as he looked the blonde over. They are the same as Sakuya or Koji, so it's obvious they won't have the same skills. Kakashi said. Naruto just grit his teeth and was about to retort, but Kakashi kept talking. Just because you don't want to have a team again doesn't mean I can or will just get rid of them. Hokage-sama placed them under my tutelage, just like you. You need to move on, Naruto. They wouldn't want to see you acting like this. Naruto flinched before glaring at the man. Just like you and Obito or Rin, right? He bit back darkly before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. Kakashi sighed but let him leave. Naruto had every right to bite back like he did, just like Kakashi knew he had no right to be lecturing him about moving on when he barely could himself. Sasuke was looking between Kakashi and where the blonde was with a confused expression as Sakura started to stir. Oh, what happened? She grumbled before looking around and seeing Sasuke and Kakashi. She noticed Naruto was gone, and while slightly curious about him, she was more relieved he wasn't there to mock or belittle them anymore. She rubbed her cheek where Naruto had hit her as Kakashi knelt down in front of the two. Naruto beat you both quite easily, and he also defended against the two of you just as easily. To be honest, I read your files and already knew everything you could do. The real reason I had the two of you fight him was to see if you would work together, which you did. Slightly. That's just something we'll have to work on in time. Sakura, you were quoted as having a high intelligence and near perfect chakra control. But on the other hand, your physical skills are lacking and your reserves aren't that big. Sasuke, the teacher said you have above average stamina and reserves as well as a good grasp on tactics, while you would seem to soak up any and all jutsu-related lessons. The downsides they gave for you were your lack of care for your fellow classmates, and your control needed just a small bit of fine-tuning. Again, these are things we'll work on together, Kakashi said as the two seemed to take in what he said. He then gave them a small smile, though the only indication was his eye seemed to turn into an upside-down U. From now on, meet at this field every day at 8 o'clock in the morning for missions, training, or whatever we seem to be doing that day. And welcome to the team. Kakashi then stood and was about to leave when Sasuke spoke. What is he? Kakashi looked down at him for him to elaborate, so Sasuke continued. Naruto, what is he? He made everything seem so simple. He stopped my best jutsu with one hand. Ah, well, the gauntlet may have had something to do with that, Kakashi said as he rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. But he is strong. He's been at this for just under 3 years and is the first genin Konoha has ever gotten into the bingo book. They both looked up in shock as they weren't expecting that. The bingo book was for powerful shinobi or missing nin. To be placed in it as a genin, you had to be dangerous. He's known as the Karai Kitsune no Konoha. Konoha's dark fox. Naruto was on top of the Yandame's head at the Hokage monument looking over the village. He was sitting down with his left leg straight and his right pulled up, resting his chin on his knee. His eyes didn't seem to focus on anything, he was just staring out into space. Damn Kakashi, bringing them up. Damn Hokage Gigi putting others with us. We don't need anybody, we're the top duo, not an A and B doing S ranks. I'm a fucking B rank threat on my own. And Kakashi is S rank with an approach with caution order for any non-S rank ninja himself. What the hell do we need 2 newbies for? Why couldn't Gigi grow a fucking backbone and tell the council off? He's the fucking Hokage. And yet he cowers to a bunch of pencil pushers. When I'm Hokage, I'll pull the plug on the damn council. Give me a few smart ninja that'll help out when they're needed and let the civilians deal with just following orders. This is a shinobi village, not some hick town where they can expect to run everything. Naruto's thoughts were interrupted as he sensed someone coming up behind him. He spun his head around to see who it was before turning back and staring out over the village again. You know you can't just run here every time something bothers you, Naruto. You shouldn't be talking considering you run to the hero's stone every morning, sensei. Naruto shot back as Kakashi sighed and sat down next to him. Naruto didn't face him or anything considering this was actually a pretty common occurrence. Naruto, whenever he was bothered or had something on his mind, would always be found either pigging out on his favorite food or on top of his father's head. Kakashi could be found every morning at the hero's stone for at least 3 or 4 hours just staring at it. It was a habit they both tried to avoid bringing up, but if they argued, then they usually snapped at each other about them. You know I'm right though. Yes, I shouldn't be lecturing you about this, but you know I'm right. Kakashi offered as he just sat overlooking the village with his student. Naruto just placed his forehead on his knee. That doesn't make it hurt any less, sensei. You can't move past yours, and I don't want to move past mine. These two, I get the Uchiha and I could deal if he didn't have that holier-than-thou attitude. And Hiruno, fangirl. Enough said? Kakashi let out a light chuckle at that. But it's that the council forced them on us. You weren't even given a choice, and I was forced to go along with it by association. Naruto grit his teeth slightly before sighing and closing his eyes. But there's nothing we can do about it now. We're stuck with them, and that's final. The two sat in silence for a bit before Kakashi spoke, surprising Naruto with what was said. It wasn't forced, you know. Huh? The team, Sasuke and Sakura. It wasn't forced on us. Hokage-sama asked me if I wanted to take a couple students to make a full squad and then explained the pros and cons of it all before asking for my decision. Naruto turned to face him as Kakashi kept talking. After hearing the reasons, not just of him but all of the council, civilian and shinobi both, I decided to do it. The only real thing that was forced was that if I agreed, Sasuke had to be one of the two I would take. Then Hokage-sama gave me the files of all the other graduates, and told me to take my pick of any of them to finish things off. I chose Sakura because with her intelligence and chakra control, I think I can get the village another genjutsu user or medic. You're a frontline fighter, strong, fast, powerful offensive jutsu, and then Kyuubi as backup when you truly need it. Like almost all Uchiha, Sasuke has the potential to become a powerful threat on the battlefield that can be balanced in most subjects, and devastating in ninjutsu. Mix the three of you together, and you get a quick response team that can work comfortably in all but stealth, tracking, or interrogation missions. The three of you can become the next generation of Sannin if you train hard enough. Just give them a chance, Naruto. They may not like you now, but give them time and they will. As Kakashi finished, he gave Naruto a smile before standing up and vanishing in a swirl of leaves. Naruto stared at the spot before turning back to look over the village. It still doesn't change the fact that I don't want new teammates. How is he so strong? Is it really just experience? And what did he do to stop my jutsu? Even Itachi would have dodged or parried with one of his own. Sasuke was scowling as he ran through the day in his mind over and over again. On one hand, he was glad. He had one of the best Jonin Konoha could offer as a sensei. Under his tutelage, Sasuke knew he could gain the strength he needed to kill his brother. He was teamed with a very powerful threat. Getting into the bingo book was no joke. Even Itachi and all his A and BU strength didn't make it into the book until after he massacred his clan. For a genin boy to make it in earlier than his brother, that took strength. Sasuke knew that when push comes to shove, Naruto would be able to handle himself and wouldn't drag the team down in the slightest. And then the cons flashed through his head. First off, his sensei's constant tardiness. If his new teammate was to be believed, then the man was obviously lazy to a degree that a Nara could relate to. If he started spouting something along the lines of troublesome, he'd ask him if he was related to the Shadow Wielders. Then there was Naruto. The boy didn't respect him or his clan and seemed to just outright hate him and Sakura, though he wasn't entirely sure on that last part. Extreme dislike for sure though. The boy looked down on him as if Sasuke wasn't worth the dirt under his feet, and he didn't like that. He was an Uchiha. They were the elite of Konoha and nobody looked down on them. But it mattered little. Once he got stronger, he'd show that commoner his place underneath him. And finally there was Sakura. Of all the people he could have been teamed with, it had to be a fangirl. No, it had to be the biggest fangirl. All he knew was that if she didn't start training seriously and drop the constant screeching for him, Sasuke would look the other way when Naruto made good on his threat to kill her. She was useless, with Kakashi pointing out her only good points, chakra control and being a walking dictionary. BTU control meant nothing without the other skills and jutsu to use it for. And you could be as smart as you wanted, again it was useless without the skills. And her attitude and voice being annoying as all hell was not making him like her like she wanted. Rather it was doing quite the opposite. Sasuke let out a sigh as he thought about his team. Might as well get used to them. I'll show up the commoner eventually and Sakura will either shape up or get left behind. But it doesn't matter either way, so long as she doesn't slow me down. Killing Itachi is all that matters. Sasuke thought as he walked into his clan compound. His eyes glanced over the empty streets and buildings as a few images of that night flashed through his mind. Soon, Itachi. Soon I'll be strong enough to avenge them. Soon you will be dead. I'm home, Sakura called out as she took off her sandals and entered the house. She heard her mother reply from the kitchen and went over there before sitting down at the table and giving a small smile. So how did things go today? Masaki asked. She already knew what team she was on due to the council meeting, but she wanted to hear her daughter's perspective before she said anything herself. Sakura sighed but then smiled a bit more. It was alright. I got placed with Sasuke-kun, and then we were put with some kid who's been a genin for a couple years already and his sensei. According to the kid, our sensei is really strong but kind of lazy, while the kid himself is strong but a jerk. He actually hurt Sasuke-kun and me in a spar and acted like Sasuke-kun was worthless. I would have told him off, but he kinda scared me. Sakura admitted with a small shudder as she thought about the cold look and words Naruto had sent towards her. Masaki scowled at the thought of Naruto hurting her daughter and the Uchiha. Sakura, that D-boy, she spat out, remembering the Hokage's order, is dangerous. I know who he is, like a lot of the village does, so trust me when I say this. Stay away from him as much as you can get away with. He won't hesitate to harm you or Uchiha-sama if he wants to. Just listen to your sensei and stay out of that boy's way. He's nothing but trouble, she ordered before giving her daughter a hug and then returning to making dinner. Besides, you were placed with Uchiha-sama. You need to try extra hard to get his affections now. Sakura sighed at that. That's gonna be hard, Mom. When her mother questioned why, Sakura started to explain. Our other teammate Naruto, he did this trick where he could tell what we were thinking by reading our faces. When he read Sasuke-kun, he said that he thinks I'm weak and will only hold him back. Sasuke-kun confirmed it when he looked shocked at how accurate Naruto was. And then he read me like an open book right after. Sakura looked depressed and Masaki was wanting to kill the demon more and more with each passing second, but then sighed. Well, if Uchiha-sama thinks you're weak, then you'll just have to train and get strong enough to impress him. Sakura looked up as her mother kept cooking. I think it's time for a different approach. You've been trying to earn his affections through praise and looks for a few years now, and it hasn't worked. So why not try through your actions? Show him you're strong enough for him, show him that you won't get in the way but will be a major help to him. Then he'll have to take notice of you. It'll also get that boy to shut up. Sakura thought it over before shrugging her shoulders. I guess it's worth a shot. So how did he take to them? A little worse than expected. He shows just short of open hatred and hostility towards them. During a small spar, I asked him to test his teammates' defensive skills and he knocked Sakura out in a single hard punch to her jaw and slammed Sasuke down with more force than necessary. Then when I tried to get him to calm down from it, he snaps at me. Afterwards I spoke with him in private atop his father's head and he pretty much flat out told me he doesn't want to move past his old team. Kakashi explained. He was alone with Sarutobi in his office and they were speaking about how Naruto and his new team interacted. Naruto was also under the impression that this was forced and that I didn't have a choice. After I explained otherwise, he said he could handle Sasuke if not for his attitude, and in his own words, Haruno? Fangirl, enough said. If she doesn't shape up quick, then he might be overly aggressive towards her. Especially since he finds fangirls to be disgraces to Kunoichi and because Sakuya hated them herself. As he finished, Sarutobi sighed and took a small drag from his pipe. Do you think he can work with them? Or is his animosity going to disrupt things? Oh, Naruto knows how to put aside personal issues on a mission. I'd be more worried of him accidentally killing them in a spar. Especially if they don't improve their attitudes to his expectations soon. Kakashi spoke with clear utter confidence that he was sure Naruto may actually do such. Which was really not a good thing. Keep an eye on him and try to make them get along with each other. I know it'll be hard, but you were right when you said they have the potential to become the next Sannin. All that's going to hold them back is their teamwork. Give me weekly reports and that will be all. After a high Hokage-sama. Kakashi vanished and Sarutobi looked back at the picture of the yondaime. Oh Minato, if only you could see what's happened to your son. You'd be so proud and disappointed in him, and angry with me for allowing it all to happen. Oh Make, you graduate. An 8-year-old, soon to be 9, Naruto was smiling as he stood in front of his sensei Iruka. He wore a large orange jumpsuit with bits of blue on it and a red swirl on the back. Iruka gave a small sigh as he smiled at the child in front of him. Naruto was trying to graduate early, which was normal for a lot of kids actually. The academy allowed anybody from the age of 5 to 9 to enroll for a 4-year course. Once you received a parent or guardian's permission, you were cleared to attempt the graduation exam early. Hatake Kakashi and Uchiha Itachi both gaining parental permission and finishing before the 4 years were up, being the primary examples of the practice. Orphans, however, didn't need parental permission since they didn't have anybody to look after them. But to make sure they didn't just try to graduate as soon as they got into the building, orphans were required to go to the academy at least 2 years. Naruto had just finished his 2nd year and wanted to try and graduate now rather than come back for a 3rd and possibly 4th year. Anybody who wanted to try and graduate early had to come on the day after the normal graduating class took their tests. This way they wouldn't bother anybody and they could accurately add in any possible early ninja into the class roster and team setups. So what do I gotta do to pass Iruka-sensei? Naruto asked as he was having trouble keeping himself from bouncing in place. Iruka chuckled at his enthusiasm and set a sheet of paper in front of him. Naruto looked down and instantly frowned at the written test. First, you have to get a passable score on this test, Naruto. Then there are 2 more steps that I'll lead you through. So I'll give you an hour to do that and then we'll move on. So start. Iruka explained as Naruto grabbed a pencil and started writing. An hour later and Iruka told him to stop and took the paper. He did a quick grading of it that took him only 10 minutes before saying that he scored just above the bare minimum allowed. Naruto smiled and Iruka then led him outside. Okay Naruto, now you'll have to run an obstacle course. Then after a small 2-minute break, you'll have to accurately throw the kunai and shuriken I provide to hit all the targets you can. And finally, a small spar against me where you have to either last a certain amount of time, or actually defeat me. Okay. I'll blaze right through all of this, Naruto declared as he took his point at the starting line. Iruka picked up a stopwatch and waited a moment to check if Naruto was ready before shouting Gyo, as the blonde ball of energy ran at top speed. Naruto ducked under the obstacles, swung over the pits and balanced as best he could while keeping his top speed. Finally he reached the finish and bent over with his hands on his knees. That course was hard. So how'd I do? Just under 4 minutes, Naruto. Not bad, you need to make it fewer than 5 and you beat that by a whole minute. Some of the current grade 8s couldn't even do that, Iruka said, honestly impressed. He did better than the bottom half of kids 2 or 3 years older than him. Okay, not take a couple minutes before coming over here for the target test. Naruto just dropped down and took a few deep breaths before he got up and walked over to Iruka. The man handed him 10 shuriken and kunai and then pointed out the targets. You have a minute to get as many bullseyes as you can with the shuriken and then another minute to do the same with the kunai. Afterwards I'll tally up your score and let you know if you pass this part. Naruto nodded his understanding and got ready with the bladed stars as Iruka took a couple steps back. At his signal Naruto started whipping the weaponry down the range hitting targets. A minute later and Iruka told him to stop and now use the kunai. The blonde obeyed and soon was throwing the knives just like he had with the stars. So did I pass this? Naruto asked as Iruka walked out and marked up the points Naruto earned in throwing weapons. Iruka came back with a very slight smile. You barely earned enough points, Naruto. Had that last shuriken been off by another inch you would have failed this part of the test. Naruto looked down for a moment before he got a smirk on his face. But I passed it, so it doesn't really matter. Now was the spar right? At Iruka's nod he grinned even more. I'm not gonna go easy on you, sensei. Iruka chuckled and led him to a small ring. He then explained the rules. Naruto had to stay in the ring for at least 3 minutes or knock Iruka down. Only taijutsu, no weapons or other tricks. Just pure hand-to-hand combat between himself and his sensei. Naruto nodded and then Iruka said Hajime. Naruto took off as fast as he could trying to knock Iruka flat on his face. The Chunin fought back and it was pretty easy to keep Naruto back, it was just more along impossible to keep Naruto down. The boy got back up from every hit, grinned and tried to knock his teacher down another way. 3 minutes later and Iruka called him to stop. He lasted the full time so he passed. Now there was only one more thing. Okay Naruto, this is the last test. Pa this and you're officially a graduate of the academy. Pausing for Naruto's shout of excitement, Iruka then continued. Perform the academy's 3 jutsu, Henge, Kawarimi, and the Bunshin. Naruto nodded before making a seal and turning into an exact duplicate of the Hokage, pipe and all. Iruka passed it and said next. Naruto dispelled the transformation and then made another seal, this time vanishing with a log taking his place. He then walked up behind Iruka with a smile. Good job Naruto. Now make at least 3 Bunshin and you graduate. Naruto nodded and started channeling chakra. This was it, the final thing he needed to pass and become a ninja. After channeling what he felt was the appropriate amount of chakra he released it to activate the jutsu. Bunshin no Jutsu. Clone technique. There was a large puff of smoke and then standing in front of Iruka were 20 Narutos. Iruka looked slightly shocked and then looked at the real one as he had him dispel the rest. Naruto, I said 3. Nua! You said at least 3. That's as few as I can make without them turning out dead and stuff. The boy shot back. Iruka went wide-eyed before realizing he was right. And he couldn't take it back or punish him for it since Naruto had followed his orders and made at least 3. He shook his head before smiling. Well then I guess all I can say is congratulations Naruto. You graduate. That night was easily one of the best Naruto ever had. Completely unaware of how much his graduating early would change the set course of actions. Is everybody in position? The voice asked over the headsets. Hi. A girl answered. Hi. A boy answered. Why the fuck am I stuck on D ranks again, sensei? An annoyed voice answered. There was a loud sigh and they could almost swear he had just facepalmed himself. Because Sasuke and Sakura aren't ready for the higher levels yet. Now are you in position, Naruto? Their sensei responded. A quick hi sensei was his response before the man looked up at the sky. Alright then. Go! There was some rustling of the bushes and trees before a small blur ran out and tried to escape a young boy wearing blue and white. Just before it got far, it had to quickly change directions as a girl with pink hair shot out to grab it. It kept running, hoping to escape its pursuers, when a kunai swung around it and caught its legs in some string. The string tightened and suddenly it found its legs tied up. The pink-haired girl sighed and picked the animal up, revealing it to be a small cat with a ribbon in its ear. Can you confirm the ribbon? Sensei, I fucking chased this cat down at least 50 times with my old team. I think I'd recognize the damn thing after getting my face clawed off so much. A blonde boy shouted as the girl started petting it and calming it down. The other boy sighed but answered the question. Hi, Sensei. Good, then missing cat Tora captured. Oh, thank you for catching my little darling. A large woman shouted as she hugged the captured cat, damn near close to death. Is it any wonder why it ran away? She paid the Hokage before leaving, which left Sasuke, Sakura, Naruto and Kakashi standing before Irika, said Hokage, and another Chunin. Well done, team. Now if you would like another mission, we have helping the Inuzuka clean out their kennels or painting the fence down on old Jiro's new house. Sarutobi offered as Kakashi closed his book. Naruto was scowling with his arms crossed due to being forced into D ranks once more. For the past year, Kakashi and Naruto had been doing nothing but C ranks on their own or B and the occasional A rank with other teams. Getting dragged back into the shinobi hell of menial labor pissed him off. Sasuke was also scowling due to the D ranks. He felt he was better than common chores or civilian work. Plus his Uchiha pride was telling him these missions were insulting to someone of his stature. That and he wanted something challenging. Surprisingly, Sakura was perfectly fine with D ranks. They weren't dangerous and she got to spend time with Sasuke. A win-win in her pink-haired head. Actually, Hokage-sama, do you have an easy C rank we could do? Kakashi asked. Naruto grinned, hoping to finally get back to better things. Sasuke smirked, thinking he'd be able to prove his skills better. And Sakura seemed impassive. Kakashi said an easy one, so she felt she'd still be safe. Irika looked over Sasuke and Sakura and seeing their attitudes about his request, chose not to say anything. Sasuke was a fast learner and Sakura was the smartest girl of their class. So if Kakashi felt they were ready, then he'd let it go. Besides, he knew Naruto's strength, so if anything went wrong, he and Kakashi could handle it. The Hokage, having come to similar conclusions, looked down at the list of available C ranks. Here's one for you. You are to escort a man to his home in Nami no Kuni and protect him as he finishes his project. Send in the client. Sarutobi called out. The door opened and a man wearing mostly brown and tan clothes walked in. He had a bottle of sake in his hand and a blush on his face, showing he was clearly drunk. He looked over the team before taking a swig of his sake. This is it? A group of little brats to protect me? They don't look like much, especially the blonde one. He muttered before taking another drink. Or trying. He looked down to see there wasn't a bottle in his hands anymore. He looked at the team to see Naruto holding his bottle with a smirk on his face. He took a swig before tossing the bottle back. Not bad, Sakeji-san. Got any more? The old man looked between where he was and the blonde before smirking. Sasuke and Sakura were staring at Naruto in shock as they hadn't even seen him move. Kakashi and Sarutobi just sighed at the blonde's actions. Since the 3 weeks of being a team, Naruto had taken every opportunity to show how superior he was to Sasuke and Sakura. He did so for a couple reasons. One was to hopefully get them to quit or ask for a team transfer once they understood how weak they were. And the other was to get them to train harder to try and catch up. Sasuke seemed to take the hint and had trained harder. Sakura, on the other hand, well, she trained harder than she used to, but she was still more concerned about looks and Sasuke than her own life, it seemed. In spars he would beat them down in seconds as brutally as he could get away with. And in everything else he would mock them and belittle any accomplishment they got. He hated being with them and was determined to either get rid of them or whip them into shape. I like you, kid. Anyways, I'm the great bridge builder Tazuna. I expect top-class protection on this trip. Kakashi just looked down on his students. Okay, you three, meet at the main gate in an hour. Pack some supplies for I'd say a week or two. He then vanished in a puff of smoke. Sasuke and Sakura left out the door to do just that while Naruto just gave a slight nod to Sarutobi before vanishing in his own shunshin. Tazuna looked back at his bottle wondering if he was seeing things before shrugging his shoulders and heading towards the inn where he left his stuff. So where's your sensei, kid? Tazuna asked as he and Naruto stood by the main gate. Naruto and the old drunk were just standing there waiting for Kakashi as Sasuke and Sakura were standing off to the side. Sasuke was thinking about what might happen on the mission while Sakura was trying to talk to Sasuke about how romantic the trip could be. Needless to say, Naruto was barely holding himself back from throwing a kunai into her head. He could see that Sasuke seemed to be silently praying he would do just that as well. Tempting, but I can't. I can scare her though. He thought before turning back to Tazuna. Oh, he'll be here soon. He then made a hand sign and 3 clones popped into existence right next to him. Go get Sensei at the Hero Stone and tell him we've got to go. Drag his ass here if you have to. The clones nodded and vanished in swirls of leaves. Naruto then rolled his eyes and grabbed a kunai before tossing it at Sakura, giving her a slight cut on the cheek. Haruno, shut the hell up. He's not talking and you're just pissing both of us off. Sakura held her hand up to her cheek and quickly glared at him as he just glared back. Go ahead, tell me I'm wrong. Neither of you have a good enough poker face to hide shit from me yet. And I swear to Kami, if you try something I will shove my foot up your ass. She scowled before turning away and giving a glance at Sasuke to see he hadn't changed facial expressions once during Naruto's shouting episode. She sighed but stayed silent as she took out a small bandage and covered her cheek. I take it you don't like her? Or him either. Naruto muttered but stayed silent, showing he wasn't wanting to talk about it. Tazuna just shrugged and went back to his sake as they waited for Naruto's clones to bring their sensei along. Which was a surprisingly short wait as they all dropped him in front of the original 5 minutes later with his hands tied behind his back. They then dispelled, giving Naruto the memories on how they captured him, and he shook his head as he untied the jonin. Seriously sensei, you need to pay more attention when you're at the stone. That was way too easy for 3 to get you. Normally that would have taken at least 10. The silver-haired jonin chuckled sheepishly before checking over the 3 of them and leading them out. So, Nami no Kuni ha? Naruto asked as they were all walking down the road. Tazuna was standing between all 3 genin, with Naruto at point, Sakura to his right and Sasuke to his left. Kakashi was a few feet behind them reading his book. When Tazuna answered in the affirmative, Naruto raised his voice. Hey sensei, would it be okay if I go visit after the mission but before we come back? Sakura and Sasuke got confused looks as Kakashi looked up from his book as he thought about it. I don't see why not. If there's no danger and we finish ahead of schedule then sure. He then went back to his book as Naruto was now staring ahead with what looked like a blank stare. But even Sakura could tell he was thinking about something. Visit where? She asked. Naruto opened his eyes a bit as he hadn't expected her to care. But then his expression softened a bit, and he guessed he might as well answer. My ancestral home. Yuzushi-Ogakure. Wait, you're not even from Konoha? Sasuke asked. Naruto chuckled and shook his head. No, I'm from Konoha. But my mother wasn't, and neither was my clan. Deciding to explain, he took a deep breath. My clan was the ruling clan of Yuzushi-Ogakure of Yuzu no Kuni. They were exceptional fighters specializing in Fuinjutsu. And to a lesser extent, Kenjutsu. They were one of the first hidden villages formed, before Konoha even. In fact, after forming and seeing how they seemed to be doing well, the Uchiha and Senju clans, which had been trying to come to peace with each other for years, decided they would join together and form their own shinobi village. They contacted the Uzumaki clan and asked for them to be the mediator to their peace talks and help them establish a village here in Hai no Kuni. Which my clan agreed to. Eventually they got the attention of Hai no Kuni's daimyo, and the daimyo agreed to provide funds and recognize them as a separate military force so long as the village agreed to serve and protect the interests of the country. The result was the birth of Konohagakure no Sato. To thank the Uzumaki and Yuzushi-Ogakure, Konoha became allies with them. The red swirl on my back, and on the clothes of so many other ninja back home, that's my clan symbol. Worn proudly as a sign of honor and respect to the clan that helped the Uchiha and Senju found the village. I always wondered what that mark was. I thought it was just something the older generation wore cause they had to, like their headbands. Sakura stated as she looked at the swirl on his back. Naruto shook his head. No, cause otherwise it would be mandatory like them. It's not though, and some people don't wear it. Most have forgotten what it means since this was so long ago. To further cement our alliance though, the Uzumaki clan had married off his daughter to the one chosen to be the Shodai Hokage. In a way, I'm related to the first Hokages of our village, Naruto said with a grin. Sasuke stared in shock. You're kidding. You're related to the Shodai? Kinda. Uzumaki Mito was the woman he married. And she's sort of like my great-aunt or something. I'm not a direct relation, but more like I'm cousins with the Senju clan. Sasuke and Sakura seemed to be quiet as they digested all the information before Sakura noticed something. Wait, so after the mission you want to go visit your clan's homeland? But we're going to Nami, not Yuzu. You'd be going to a whole other country. No, I wouldn't, because Yuzu doesn't exist anymore. Neither does Yuzushi-Ogakure either now that I think about it, he said as he hung his head down. What do you mean? Sasuke asked. Sakura seemed to be eager to learn as well as Naruto sighed. I mean, I'm like you Uchiha. I'm the last of my clan as well. This got both of them to recoil slightly as they didn't expect that. My clan and village was strong. They were a minor village, but they were as strong as one of the 5 greats. And said greats didn't exactly like that. IWA and a few minor villages allied with it decided to put the Yuzunin in their place as it were. They launched an attack that pretty much wiped them off the map. It wasn't a battle, but a slaughter. A massacre. Not one person in the village survived. This got Sasuke to grit his teeth and look down. Any mention of massacres got to him since his clan went through one. It was this that started the Third Ninja War actually. Konoha was outraged one of our closest allies was destroyed, so we retaliated. Both could tell that this had to be part of the reason he hated IWA. After all, they destroyed his entire clan and their village. You can't just forgive something like that. If nobody survived, then how were you born? I mean, you said you were born in Konoha, But your clan was wiped out long before you were born? Sakura asked. Naruto chuckled slightly. About 10 to 15 years before the destruction and war, Konoha needed something. They needed someone with a special kind of chakra for a special task. They searched the village but didn't find one that fit the bill. So they had people search their allies to see if they did. Turns out, Yuzushio had someone exactly like they were looking for. My mother was discovered to have the special chakra Konoha needed. After some deals and negotiations, she was brought to Konoha and enrolled in our ninja forces. Naruto explained. When the war broke out, she was usually leading the charge on battlefields in vengeance for our clan. Uzumaki Kushina, the Akatsuki no Konoha, Konoha's Red Death, the only ninja with a body count higher than her was the Yondaime. With her home village gone and being the last of the clan, she decided to restart the Uzumaki in Konoha. Sadly, she died the day I was born. He muttered with clenched fists and closed eyes as he thought about something. What neither of the genin knew. Kakashi sighed behind his book as he listened into the conversation. He was opening up to his teammates, which was good, but still had that problem of letting go of the past. Not that he was much better, which he freely would admit. Wait, you said you wouldn't be going to another country? You never explained that. Sakura pointed out. Naruto was about to talk, but Tazuna surprisingly answered that. That's cause Nami is Yuzu, he said before taking a drink. Seeing Sakura and Sasuke looking at him in shock, he continued. After the war, our people wanted to forget the humiliation of our total defeat and wanted to start fresh. So the country changed its name from Yuzu no Kuni to Nami no Kuni, and we never again tried to make a ninja village. We kept our close ties to Konoha and Hai no Kuni though. We just wiped our hands clean of our own shameful history. Tazuna finished and Sakura and Sasuke nodded as things seemed to make sense, as Naruto was quietly growling at how Tazuna referred to their slaughter as shameful. To him it wasn't shameful because though they lost, IWA was damn near crippled from the fight, and if not for their allies, Konoha would have swept through them instantly. But as it was, they couldn't until the Yondaime came in with his Hirishin no Jutsu, Flying Thundergo technique. That was far from shameful. Alright, that's enough of the depressing talk for now. Kakashi interrupted. The genin looked at him but then at Naruto, who had his hands balled into fists, and noticed they were shaking. Both Sasuke and Sakura could tell the talk was starting to anger him, and seeing as he could not relax himself as he normally would, by eating ramen or visiting the Hokage monument, they decided to drop it. Tazuna just shrugged and started drinking his sake again. The trip was silent and peaceful after Kakashi told them to drop it. At least until they noticed a puddle in the middle of the road. Naruto and Kakashi stiffened slightly but otherwise made no motion to do anything. Sasuke and Sakura didn't notice anything strange and Tazuna just kept drinking. They managed to get a few feet from the puddle when it actually happened. Two figures in torn black cloaks jumped out of the water and wrapped Kakashi up in chains before pulling and tearing the jonin to pieces. Sakura screamed in shock, Tazuna was scared into being sober, and Sasuke's face flashed through shock, fear and then settled on anger. One down, one started. 3 to go. The other finished before they charged forward at Sakura, correctly assuming she was the weakest of the group. Sasuke sprang into action and tossed a shuriken that pinned the chain to a tree before locking it in place with a kunai. As the two dealt with being jerked back, he landed on the clawed gauntlets the two had and then kicked them both to the face simultaneously. They shook the pain out of their heads as Sasuke landed before they disabled the chain and charged again. One headed to fight Sasuke while the other headed at Sakura again. Sasuke whipped out a kunai to his hand and started to block the claws of the Kirinin, and tried to find an opening while Sakura was still staring in shock and fear. Just as the ninja came close and was about to take her face off with a clawed hand to the face, he was suddenly thrown back hard enough that he collided with the other and both crashed into a tree. Pathetic Haruno. At least the Uchiha fought back. Why are you a ninja again? Naruto taunted as he stood in front of her with his leg outstretched as if he had just kicked something, which technically he had. If you're scared senseless by such a small thing, then you need to quit. You're just dragging us down even more than I thought. Now let me show you how a real ninja handles things, he said as he lowered his leg. The moment he did, he vanished into thin air and 4 Narutos appeared and rushed the 2 missing nins as they were standing. The clones split up to take them on 2 to 1 each. One was pounded between the two like a ball from a barrage of rapid kicks and punches, while the other was thrown to the ground before getting tossed up and slammed down again. Not even a minute later and both were wrapped up with ninja wire and tied up back to back. It was then that the clones vanished and Naruto was standing there without even looking winded. How? One mumbled out as he tried to stay awake. The other was silent, but that was more because his jaw was broken. Naruto knelt down and turned their heads to face him. Who the hell are you? The Kurai Kitsune, was the blonde's response. Both paled dramatically as they looked at him in horror. Sasuke was torn between anger at his fight being taken away, shock and fear at how simple Naruto had beaten them, and curiosity at why they were paling so much at his title. Other than being the only genin in the bingo book under that title, Kakashi hadn't told them anything else about it. And they didn't have a bingo book to check and see what he did to get in it. Now you two are going to tell me why you attacked us, who you're working for, and why you should live. Naruto ordered in a no-nonsense tone. Both nodded and the one that could still talk explained everything. From being hired by Gato to kill the bridge builder to also working with Momochi Zabuza in planning the small attack. They had no doubt Zabuza would shortly learn of their failure and would come himself next time. They also pleaded to be allowed to live. Naruto just stood with a blank face and they thought they were going to die before he lashed out with a kick that knocked both unconscious. Well, that's a little frightening. The demon of the mist, huh? Kakashi muttered as he seemingly appeared next to Tazuna without a mark on him. Said old man and Sakura both jumped into the air with a shout as they hadn't heard or felt him come up. They all then looked to his corpse to see a pile of shredded wood, no doubt from a log he had replaced himself with. Kakashi continued as if he didn't just drive too nearly into premature heart attacks. Naruto, you know those two are the demon brothers, right? Chunin level missing nin from Kiri. And Zabuza is an A-rank jonin that was formerly part of the Kiri no Shinobi Gatana Nananin Shu, right? 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. I don't think Sasuke and Sakura are ready for this. Naruto sighed as Kakashi had a point. I know. We should go back. I may hate these two but I don't want them killed. Sorry Ji-san, but we're going back to Konoha. Naruto said as he made a clone to carry the demon brothers. Sasuke scowled at missing his chance to actually fight while Sakura seemed relieved. Tazuna, on the other hand, looked more terrified than when the ninja was charging at him and the pinkette. You can't. If you do then I'll die, he shouted. Kakashi sighed. You paid for C-ranked protection. This is not C-ranked protection. Unless you can pay for at least a B rank, then we're going back. I'm not going to risk my students dying when I know the danger that's coming. Tazuna flinched but then looked down. I see. And I'd like to pay you what you deserve, but I can't. Gato has our country in a chokehold. We're a fishing and merchant nation and he has gained control of all the docks. Thanks to taxes he's placed on everything, we could only scrounge up enough for a C rank. Tazuna then raised his head and looked at all of them. Nami is dying off. Gato's thugs run around doing whatever they want because he lets them. We can't fight back because then he kills us. The bridge I'm building is the one and only hope for our country. With it complete, our nation would no longer be forced to use the docks that he controls and our land would be freed. He knows it too, which is why he wants me dead. Be that as it may, you still didn't pay so I'm sorry but we can. We'll do it. Kakashi whipped his head around to see Naruto staring right back at him with a fierce determination in his eyes. Seeing the silent question, Naruto kept talking. Nami is dying, sensei. We can always set up an interest plan to get the country to pay us back later for lying to us. But I'm going to help them. Besides, what would my clan think if I knew our homeland was suffering and I turned a blind eye? Kakashi sighed. I'm with him. Sasuke spoke up, getting the attention of the rest. I was doing fine against that Chunin, so I think between your skill and his, we'll be fine. Besides, isn't Konoha known for helping stop suffering wherever we go? He asked with a smirk. He didn't care about the country in the slightest really. That was just a side bonus. He wanted to test himself against a ninja of higher caliber. A jonin listed as an A-rank threat that was once part of the 7 strongest swordsmen in the world was definitely a higher challenge. Kakashi sighed again and looked over at Sakura to see her opinion on the matter. She looked from the confident look on her teammate's face to the pleading look on Tazuna's before nodding herself. Fine then. Tazuna, it looks like you still have us for this mission. Omake, Chibi. A young Naruto was walking back to the academy with a large grin. He had passed and graduated early. Now he was going to meet the current graduates and be sorted into teams with them. He couldn't wait. As he opened the door, he saw that the class was full of students a couple years older than him, all talking or whispering with the ones nearby. Nobody noticed him until he closed the door and walked inside. Which is when someone actually spoke to him. Hey kid, you lost or something? This is for the graduates, not students. Naruto looked at the kid to see a boy with messy brown hair that was spiked up. He had black eyes and on his cheeks were red triangles signifying the child was an Inuzuka. He wore a long-sleeved black shirt that hugged his form, showing his developing muscles. He also had on over that a light brown coat with a red fur around the hood which was down at the moment. The kid was standing, which let Naruto see he also had on black shinobi pants. Sitting on the desk next to him was a small brown dog with black ears, also staring at him like the boy. In fact, since the boy had called out to Naruto, the whole class was now staring at him. I graduated. He answered timidly before shaking his head and then grinning as he pointed to his headband which was tied around his head. See? I graduated early and I'm one step closer to being Hokage. He shouted. The kid grinned and nodded his head. Well, not bad. Been a while since someone graduated early. I guess we got another genius this generation, he said as he sat down. He then motioned to the seat next to him that was open and Naruto just grinned and took it while the rest of the class went back to whatever they were talking about before. As soon as Naruto sat down, the kid offered his hand. Name's Inuzuka Koji. This pup here is my partner Kairi. Said dog gave a small bark but otherwise stayed sitting. Naruto shook his hand with a grin. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, and I'm gonna be Hokage. Hokage, huh? Well, graduating early is a nice jumpstart to that, Chibi. Koji replied. Naruto just huffed about his new nickname. I'm not a Chibi. Sure you are. You're young, short, and I bet over half the girls here would call you cute. In fact, that might be nice. May get some of them to stop bugging me. He muttered as Naruto held a hand out towards the little pup. Kairi sniffed his hand before giving him a little lick and Naruto started to pet the animal. Hey, I guess Kairi likes you a bit. Naruto grinned before he put on a thoughtful expression with his eyes squinted, strongly reminding Koji of a fox. Why would the girls bother you? Koji scoffed but otherwise didn't lose his cheerful look. 'Cause I'm from a big clan and I'm the rookie of the year. Or at least I should be. How good were you on the test? He asked as he genuinely became curious about how good the young blonde was. Iruka-sensei said I barely passed. But I still passed, so it doesn't matter, he exclaimed. Koji chuckled at how energetic the boy seemed to be before nodding his head. True. He agreed before the door opened again and a tall man came in. He was bald and had red eyes. He also wore the standard Chunin outfit and looked over the class, which got silent as he entered. The man looked over the class with a smile until his eyes fell on Naruto. He then looked confused. Mind telling me why you're here, kid? I passed the graduation test early. The man closed his eyes and nodded his understanding. He knew exactly who he was and was genuinely surprised the QB kid was good enough to pass early. He also had no ill will towards the child. In his mind it was more along the lines of indifference. He didn't care if Naruto lived or died, so long as QB didn't get out he could care less. He pulled out a clipboard and noticed the revised teams, a couple small revisions from placing Naruto into the class as a graduate. Alright, well good for you. Now to all of the students I taught, congratulations on passing. I spent the last 4 years whipping you into shape and now you get to head out to the world and show just what a great teacher I am. He declared, getting a few laughs from the kids. But seriously though, do your village and families proud. Protect your teammates, train your hardest, and always work towards your dreams. From today forth all of you are Shinobi of Konoha. Do those headbands proud and live with honor. For that is the will of fire. He concluded, which got all the students to be staring at him with determination and happiness in their eyes. He could just tell this group would go far. Now, as for your teams. Team 1 will be, and everybody pretty much tuned him out except for their own name. Team 5 will be Uzumaki Naruto, said Blonde, whipped his head up as he looked at the Chunin. Inuzuka Koji, the boy's head went up with a smirk towards the shorty next to him. And Sakuya. A girl towards the back of the class smiled and nodded, apparently pleased with her placement. Many of the other girls started whining about not being with their Koji-kun though. Seeing as he no longer had to worry about possibly offending a future teammate, Koji stood up and spun around to face all the girls. Will all of you shut the hell up? I've been holding this back for 4 damn years. Your constant squealing and screeching has just been hurting my ears, damn it. Shut the hell up and actually try being ninja for once. He then sighed and sat back down with a quick apology to his sensei for interrupting him. Said man just smirked and shook his head as the girls that were fawning over him were now whining about how heartless their crush was. Think nothing of it, Koji, it needed to be said. Anyways, your sensei will be Hatake Kakashi. Team 6. Everybody was silent as they sat in a small boat being rowed through the morning mist. Naruto was sitting at the front of the boat while Kakashi was talking with Tazuna over their arrangements for staying and helping out when they should have gone home. Sasuke was eager to prove himself and smirked as he stared ahead into the thick mist. Sakura was just doing her best to avoid shivering at the thought of what they were up against. Eventually the boat landed and they all got off. The boatman wished them good luck before heading back, not wanting to get caught in what they expected to happen. Eyes open, everyone. If we're to be attacked again, then now before we reach Tazuna's home would be their best bet. Kakashi ordered as they walked. Naruto took point in front of Tazuna while Kakashi was behind him and Sasuke and Sakura were to his left and right respectively. As they were walking, Naruto twitched and spun to the left, and Sasuke also whipped out a kunai and tossed it into some bushes to the group's left side. There was a dull thud as the metal dug into flesh and Naruto walked over and held up a now dead rabbit. Sasuke sighed, thinking his nerves were getting to him, as Sakura and Tazuna also let out breaths they didn't know they were holding. Naruto and Kakashi however scowled at the creature. Correct me if I'm wrong, sensei, but aren't rabbits supposed to be brown this time of year? Yeah, they are. Which means get down now! Kakashi shouted as a large sword came spinning through above their heads and lodged itself into a tree behind them. They all got up and spun to face the blade as a man seemingly appeared on the blade's handle. He had spiky brown hair and his lower face was wrapped in bandages while he was shirtless with blue pants and blue camouflage-styled arm warmers. He stared down at them impassively as they took note of the tilted Kiri headband on his forehead. Momochi Zabuza, the demon of the mist, Kakashi declared as he placed a hand by his headband, ready to move it out of the way and reveal his Sharingan if he needed to. Hatake Kakashi, the famed copy ninja. I feel honored. Last I heard you had a brat that got into the books. I take it he's one of the 2 boys behind you. The man asked as if this was just a normal encounter and they weren't enemies. Naruto tossed the rabbit aside and stepped forward as he made a hand sign and 5 clones poofed into existence and took up stances near Tazuna. Ah yes, blonde hair and whiskers. The Kurai Kitsune. Now I'm really liking this mission. You won't be getting Tazuna. I'm sure you understand that, Zabuza. Kakashi kept his calm as he made sure to be ready for the slightest sign of movement from his enemy. Naruto was also standing a few feet behind him and was just as tense and ready. They had faced missing Nin before and he knew the routine. Sasuke and Sakura backed up closer to Tazuna and the clones while staring at Zabuza, one with a scowl and the other with some fear she was attempting to hide. My reputation would plummet if I didn't at least try anyways. But you know that yourself, Kakashi. Zabuza said as he flipped and pulled out his sword before landing on the ground, and he held his sword out to the side, the large flat of the blade parallel to the ground. Tell me, the two by the clones, are they newbies or just wimps? Both. Naruto commented with a dark glare at Zabuza. Sasuke scowled at being called a wimp but made no comment. But that doesn't mean you're going to touch them either, Momochi. Said Nin just shrugged and looked over at the two to see their faces. I can see they don't really seem to trust you yet, Blondie. Do they know what you did to get in the book? Hell, do they know what I did to get in the book? Zabuza asked. Seeing them look slightly confused but still wary towards him, he chuckled. Well, how about a little story, kiddies? Back in Kiri we had a very harsh graduation exam. Classmates would be paired off to fight each other. To the death. Kakashi interrupted. It was this practice that led to the moniker Bloody Mist that Kiri still holds to some extent. Though they dropped the practice after 1 year when a single student slaughtered the entire graduating class single-handedly. Zabuza sighed as he gave a very obvious grin underneath his bandages. Yeah, I had some fun that day, killing all of those wimps. Do you know what it's like to have to kill the people you grew up with? The ones you considered your closest friends suddenly being out for your blood, all for the right to be a ninja. Felt great to me. I killed them all and was then chosen to become part of Kiri's good old 7 swordsmen. He said with a slight nod to the blade he still held out to the side. But I heard that the little blonde killed more than I did in one go. Faster too if the stories are true. Sasuke and Sakura were now staring at Naruto as the boy clenched his fists and glared at Zabuza. What was it? 24 genin, 13 chunin, 7 jonin, and 2 anbu I believe. All with a smile too if the rumors are right. Zabuza said. Naruto just lowered his head as his two teammates, and the bridge builder looked at him in shock. You're wrong. Naruto spoke. Zabuza scoffed and rolled his eyes. Knew it. No way some Konoha would kill that many with a smile. Zabuza then felt a weight on his sword and spun his head to see Naruto crouching on it with perfect balance and a glare at him. The spot he was in previously was empty. It was 3 anbu, he said before kicking him in the face. Zabuza exploded into water as Naruto landed on his feet. TCH Mizu Bunshin. Water clone, Kakashi sighed and pulled up his headband, revealing his Sharingan eye to the world. About time you pulled out your Sharingan, sensei. For a second I thought you weren't going to use it here. I was just waiting for the right time, Naruto. He remarked casually. They looked around before Zabuza appeared on the water from where they came. Sasuke wanted to erupt into questions as to why a non-Uchiha had their bloodline, but a look from the ninja told him he'd explain later. Allow me to show you the finest of ninja arts. Kirigakure no Jutsu. Hidden mist technique, he shouted as a thick and heavy mist formed over the area. Naruto leapt back to be closer to his team and clones as Kakashi kept his eyes peeled and looked around. 8 choices. Zabuza started as his voice echoed through the mist. A simple act of ventriloquism made it impossible to pinpoint him in the area through sound. While he spoke he began leaking out large amounts of killing intent, freaking out Tazuna and Sakura as well as starting to make Sasuke shake. Liver, lungs, spine, clavicle vein, jugular vein, brain, kidneys, heart. Tell me, which should I go after first? He asked darkly as the killing intent was raised higher. Kakashi was still looking around and Naruto seemed unaffected by it himself. This killing intent, it's unreal. This is a battle between monsters. I can't take it. Sasuke was shivering as he raised a kunai up towards his throat before the Naruto clone nearest to him slapped him across the face. Sasuke snapped out of it and glared at the clone. The clone, however, just stared back and spoke in a calm and clear voice. Stay calm, Uchiha. Kakashi-sensei won't let us die, and while I may not like you, I promised myself to never let a teammate die in front of me. Not after last time. He added as he shook his head and kept looking around for Zabuza. Sasuke wondered what he could have meant but put it out of his mind for a later time as he kept his eyes peeled for any trace of the Kiri ninja. Suddenly all the clones had wide eyes as 3 grabbed the real people and dropped to the ground as the last 2 spun around to attack, only to get chopped in half by the sword Zabuza was swinging. Before the hunter could leap away he was cut across the chest by Kakashi. Zabuza went wide-eyed before smirking and becoming water. Just as Kakashi realized his mistake, his head was chopped off by Zabuza from behind. So much for an S-ranked ninja, he remarked before feeling a kunai up at his throat as the Kakashi in front of him dispersed into water. Out of the corner of his eyes he saw the real Kakashi was standing behind him holding the kunai up. You know this is the real difference between A and S, Zabuza. Kakashi pressed the kunai closer to Zabuza's throat as Sasuke, Sakura and Tazuna stood up and retreated to a safe distance. The Naruto clones also got up but merely held out their left hands as flames burst into life over their gauntlets. Zabuza was switching between staring at the ninja knife at his throat and the 3 fires being aimed at him to fry him should he make a single bad move. A few feet away was the real Naruto going through hand signs at a slow pace. If you want to live, Zabuza, you'll leave now. You've lost and you know it. After about a minute of silence, Zabuza chuckled. You know, I don't think I have, he said before another Zabuza appeared behind Kakashi and attacked, getting him to spin around to defend himself while the Naruto clones threw their fireballs at the first. The first Zabuza just kicked Kakashi towards the water before jumping out of the way, while the other exploded into water as the 3 fireballs all collided with it simultaneously. The original Naruto dispelled his clones as he finished his hand signs at a rapid pace. Futon Diatapa. Wind release. Great breakthrough, Naruto shouted as he whipped his hands forward, causing a large burst of wind to rush towards Zabuza. Said man ran through a few seals of his own at a rapid pace. Suetun, Suijin Hiki. Water release. Water encampment wall. A wall of water rushed from the ground and blocked the wind jutsu as Zabuza took the moment to finish his retreat to the water as Kakashi landed on the lake. As soon as he touched the water, he made 4 Mizu Bunshin that ran back towards Naruto. Kakashi whipped out a kunai and cut at the Kiri-nin, but Zabuza used his blade to block before kneeing the man in his gut. He then quickly made a few seals and stuck his hand out. Water from below the 2 rose up and trapped Kakashi in a ball of water as Zabuza turned his attention back to his clones to see that Naruto had already destroyed one and was leaping back to his team to avoid getting chopped to pieces by the other 3. Fuck. Sensei got caught. I'm pretty sure he could get out of there, but it would probably cost him too much chakra or would leave him open to an attack from Zabuza's blade, Naruto explained as he was catching his breath. Tazuna was shaking behind him while Sakura had a kunai out and stood protectively in front of him. This would have been reassuring if the girl didn't have obvious terror written all over her face. Sasuke had a kunai out and was scowling but had his eyes focused on the Zabuza clones as he tried to think of a plan. In the back of their minds, the 3 were scared of Naruto as well as Zabuza, but since he was fighting to protect them, they could put it away for another time. Uchiha, front and center, Naruto shouted, getting the boy to look at him in bewilderment as he leapt up to his side. Do you know any fire jutsu besides that Gokaki no Jutsu? Great fireball technique. 1. Why? Sasuke asked as he tried to think about what his blonde teammate was planning. Is it stronger or more widespread than the fireball? Naruto asked, completely ignoring his teammate's question. Sasuke put aside his anger at not being answered as he answered. Widespread. Multiple small fireballs at multiple or single targets. Sasuke was still confused as Naruto grinned. Can you aim a few at all 3 clones and at the real Zabuza all at once? Sasuke nodded, so Naruto continued. Good, do it. I'll use my Diatapa to increase the power since wind powers up fire. After we do this, launch some shuriken and kunai at any targets that escape while I make sure Sensei gets out. Sasuke nodded with a small smirk as he realized the blonde's plan. Both started running through hand seals before calling out the name of their jutsu. Katan, Hozenka no Jutsu. Phoenix Sage Fire Technique. Futon Diatapa. Sasuke launched 8 fireballs at rapid speed that all flew off at the targets, 2 per Zabuza. The wind from Naruto's jutsu then reached the fire and pumped the size of the fireballs from the size of their fists to about the size of their heads while making the fire go from red to a bright blue. The clones did their best to move as the fire approached them, but 2 weren't fast enough and got caught before the 3rd was caught by a kunai to the head. The real Zabuza though was panicking and getting ready to move out of the way at precisely the right time when he saw Naruto rushing forward. Shit! Zabuza ripped his hand out of the jutsu holding Kakashi prisoner as he leapt back, running through hand signs to cast a jutsu. He barely managed to get a Suijin Hiki up in time to block the fire before he was holding back a kunai with his sword from Kakashi. It was then Naruto reached him and pulled back his gauntlet fist. Zabuza then noticed something about the metal glove that escaped his attention before. The fingers were pointed and tipped into claws. Hits him! Fire claw, Naruto shouted as the clawed gauntlet erupted into fire. Kakashi ducked down as Naruto slashed over his head at Zabuza's. The Kiri-nin could only put up a flimsy defense to prevent his face from being burned or clawed off as the attack sent him flying back over the surface of the water. It was then he also noticed he had lost his sword and glared back to see that Naruto was now holding the blade and jumping back as Kakashi rushed in again to attack. Fucking brat! Zabuza yelled as he ran through more seals yet again. Kakashi started to mimic him as he stopped about 10 feet in front of him. He's gonna pay for snatching my sword. I'll take it back and chop off his head. And will you stop copying me? Zabuza yelled. Suetun, Suryuden no Jutsu. Water release, water dragon bullet technique, both shouted in unison. Twin dragons of water erupted from behind each man before launching at the opposite and cancelling each other out. The 2 then started more signs as Zabuza grew even more frustrated at how Kakashi was just playing copycat now. Pathetic. Reduced to copying a superior opponent, aren't you, Kakashi? Well, too bad for you, but you can't beat the original. Zabuza shouted before Kakashi yelled the end, with him getting the man to be surprised that Kakashi knew what he was going to say. Then to his greater shock, Kakashi finished the hand signs they were doing even faster than he was. Suetun, Daibakufu no Jutsu. Water release, great waterfall technique, Kakashi shouted as the water spiraled slightly in front of him before rushing forward and slamming Zabuza back. The missing ninja was slammed into a tree and collapsed in a heap as Kakashi appeared above him. That eye, can you see the future? He weakly asked. Yes. And your future is death. Just as he was about to kill Zabuza, two Saban needles flew out and struck the Kirinin in the neck. His eyes widened momentarily before they closed, and he slumped down, motionless. Suddenly a figure appeared on the ground across from the dead ninja. The figure wore a mostly green battle kimono and had on a porcelain mask with slits for eye holes. At the mask's forehead was the 4 wavy lines representing Kiri, while the bottom was painted with red lines that flowed up like smoke. You were right, his future was death. The figure had a soft-spoken voice and was clearly belonging to someone quite young. Kakashi sighed and pulled his headband down to cover his Sharingan once more before he checked Zabuza's vitals, pleased at the lack of a pulse. It was then that the genin and Tazuna came up. You're welcome, Hunter-san, Kakashi said with a slight nod. He began walking towards his team when the ninja spoke up. Not a problem. Now I must take care of the body. Young one, may I have Zabuza's blade back? The shinobi asked. Naruto, as the boy had the blade held on his back like Zabuza did, using chakra to make the giant cleaver stick to his back. Naruto looked over the hunter for a few seconds before grinning. Nope, he responded cheerfully. The hunter let out a growl as Sasuke and Sakura were wondering why he didn't just hand it over. Why not? That blade belongs to Zabuza, who is now dead and no longer has any need for it. Plus, since you stole Sensei's kill, we can't get the bounty on his head. His legendary blade, Kubikuri-bocho, decapitating carving knife, more than makes up for that loss. Besides, I snatched this in the fight fair and square. And it's quite common for shinobi to steal the weapons of those stronger when they can. Naruto responded, not losing the cheerful tone or amused look on his face as he could tell the hunter was seething under his mask. I can send you his bounty money after returning his head to Kiri. Will you return the blade if I do so? He asked. Naruto smirked at the obvious frustration. If I remember correctly, his blade is worth more than him anyways. So tell you what, have Kiri send a message to Konoha with the money, and we'll send the blade back then. But until I have the money in my hands, I get a new toy. The hunter huffed but knew Naruto wouldn't change his mind, so he grabbed one of Zabuza's arms and threw his weight over his back before vanishing in a shunshin. Naruto, why didn't you just give the blade back? Sakura asked now that the hunter had left, and they were safe. Sasuke was eyeing the sword himself as Kakashi sighed and asked Tazuna if he was alright. Naruto dropped the cheerful grin and scowled as he looked at the spot the ninja just left. Because that wasn't a real hunter ninja. Seeing Sasuke and Sakura confused, he explained. Hunter ninja are tasked with locating missing ninja and killing them or returning them to their village. When the hunter makes a kill, they're supposed to immediately chop off their head and burn the body with a fire jutsu on the spot. They then seal the head away and take it back to their village for the bounty, as well as to show their mission was accomplished. However, that hunter didn't follow protocol and rather tried to get Zabuza's sword back. Plus, Senbon were used. Senbon are not killing items but rather are meant for paralyzing and weakening targets in battle. That was not a hunter nin but an accomplice working to save Zabuza. So why would I give our enemy his main weapon back to him? He explained before finishing off with a slight grin and question. Sasuke and Sakura were surprised he figured that all out, and then after looking at how Kakashi was calmly talking with Tazuna, figured he knew the same thing. But the question now is what to do with this thing. I mean, hell yeah, it's a legendary blade and awesome as hell, but I don't need it. I have my own weapon. A gauntlet isn't a weapon, Naruto. Sasuke scoffed. Sakura nodded her head slightly in agreement as Naruto shrugged. It can be if used right. But I wasn't referring to the Kiba no Makai, Fang of Hell, anyways. I've got something else that I only use when I feel I need it, and that's more suited to my fighting style than this giant broadsword. Naruto explained as the two were now curious about what weapon he meant since he didn't seem to be carrying it on him. They then were confused as Naruto started sizing them up with a thoughtful expression. Either of you want to try using it? They both stared in shock as he lifted the blade off his back and stabbed it into the ground. They then turned their attention to the blonde to see he was completely serious. Sakura looked at the sword intently but then shook her head. No thanks. I don't think I could use it right. Yeah, you don't seem like a frontline kenjutsu type now that I really think about it. Well, not without extensive training anyways. Naruto remarked offhandedly before facing Sasuke. You, on the other hand, do seem like a frontline fighter and would take far less training to use this baby in the field. So you want to try it? If not, I know someone back in Konoha who would give their life just to hold this thing, much less own it. Naruto could see Sasuke staring at the blade, truly thinking it over, and suddenly he smirked. Give it. Naruto chuckled and stepped back and motioned for him to take it. Sasuke stepped up and pulled the blade out with a lot of effort before holding it out and almost losing his balance. It's heavy. Really damn heavy. He muttered as he broke out into a light sweat just from holding the thing up. Something Naruto noticed. Give it a few swings. If you lose your balance, then I'll hold onto it until we get back home. You might need some more strength training before you can actively use it. Sasuke scowled at the thought of losing the new weapon he was just given and started swinging it around as easily as he could in a controlled and slow manner. After the fourth swing though, he lost his balance from the weight and strength it took to lift the blade and stumbled. Naruto grabbed the blade from him and stabbed it into the ground again while holding him up for a second. "Yeah, we're waiting until we get home before you use this thing." Sasuke scowled and was about to retort, but Naruto cut him off. "I'll give it to you, don't worry. I'm just going to seal it away into a scroll for now. While it's always good to learn new things, and I can guarantee Sensei will be giving the two of you some training while we're here, learning an entirely new fighting style is not good to do on missions. It's best to improve on what you know right now and let you learn how to use this later. So for now, I'll keep it in a scroll, and when we get back to Konoha we'll build your physical strength and help you with this. Got it?" Sasuke sighed and relented with a nod. The blonde whipped out a scroll and brush as he began to write out a seal on the blank paper before laying the sword over it and channeling some chakra to it. The large blade vanished in a puff of smoke and Naruto wrapped the scroll up before placing it back into his bag. "Alright team, we're going to hurry and take Tazuna home before any more help comes along and we fight again. Those jutsu took a lot out of me, so we'll rest up for the night, and I'll start training you tomorrow. Zabuza will be back, of that there's no doubt. So you'll need to be prepared. Now let's move," he ordered. The three quickly fell into position as they followed their client home. Omake, a fellow enthusiast. After the team announcements were made, the man told them they had an hour for lunch before they had to report back here to meet their new senseis. Naruto and Koji got up and headed towards the door and waited for the kunoichi of their team while talking a little about what they might be doing. Koji's Niken, Kairi, had leapt up and was perched on his head. The rookie of the year, and the early graduate. "Oh, this'll definitely be fun." They turned to face their teammate with a smile. She had dark purple hair that was cut short, a little less than shoulder length, and dark, near black eyes. Her hair also framed her face, and a stray bang was held in place by a silver hair clip on her right side. Her clothes were simple as well. She had on a dark blue kimono top that was tucked into her knee-length black skirt. She also had on the common ninja wraps under the skirt, and had black shinobi sandals on her feet. Her hands were covered by black gloves with a metal plate on the back, while her left wrist had a small silver bracelet with an amethyst set into it. Her dark blue kunai pouch was set on her left leg, and her headband was tied around her forehead by a dark blue cloth. Her figure was also a little more shapely than the rest of the class, though she didn't flaunt it or show it off like most shapely kunoichi were prone to do. "Hi. My name's Uzumaki Naruto. Nice to meet you," Naruto said with a large grin. Koji just kept his grin up since he knew who she was and she knew him. After all, they just went through class together for 4 years. "My name's Sakuya. A pleasure. So, do you two have any plans for lunch?" she asked after introducing herself to the boy. "I was going to go get some ramen at Ichiraku's. You two want to come?" Naruto offered. They both shrugged their shoulders and followed the hyperactive boy as he ran off to lead the way. "This is getting very irritating," Koji muttered. They had been waiting for almost 3 damn hours for their sensei. The rest of the class had been picked up by their teams within half an hour at latest, and here they were, still waiting for even a messenger to run in and say something about why the person was late. Koji was resting his chin on his arms as he leaned on his desk trying to not fall asleep while thinking about what kind of jonin was 3 hours late to a meeting. Sakuya was resting her face in one hand as her other was drawing on a piece of paper in front of her as Kairi sat next to her and watched her draw. Naruto, however, was bouncing in his chair, trying to avoid the temptation to break out screaming about how this guy was holding him back from being Hokage. Of course, 3 hours was very long to the soon-to-be 10-year-old boy, and he did eventually snap. "Okay, that's it. This guy's getting pranked," he declared as he got up and grabbed one of the chalk erasers and placed it above the slightly open door so that it would fall and smack the ninja in the face when he finally arrived. Koji just rolled his eyes as Sakuya looked up and grinned. "That's it? A single eraser? I could do so much better," she taunted. However, the boy surprised her as he just shrugged his shoulders. "I left all my prank supplies at home, so I can't do that much right now." This actually got the girl to grin at him. "You actually have supplies for pranking people? You do this often, don't you?" The blonde gave a sheepish smile as he nodded. "Well, seeing as you don't have your stuff, let me help up this thing. You're right, this guy needs to get pranked." She then got up and after checking what was all in the room and talking with Naruto, the boy broke out into a wide smile and started whispering back. The girl had an identical smile on her face as she listened, and soon both nodded and started scurrying around the room and messing with supplies and wires, setting everything up as best they could. Koji and Kairi watched the two running around setting up some sort of prank with little interest. "You know you aren't going to catch a jonin with something childish like this, right?" Sakuya huffed but ignored him while Naruto just grinned. "Maybe, but either way, maybe our prank will impress him and we'll get a reward or something for doing it all. Or you could just piss the guy off and make him punish you. Or worse, all of us. I don't feel like getting into trouble for something the two of you did." Koji rolled his eyes as the two finished their work and then went to the other side of the room to wait for their sensei. "Well, we'll just wait and see, won't we, Koji?" Sakuya grabbed a seat as Naruto just stood by the window watching the door with eager eyes. Koji rolled his eyes but stayed silent as he slightly agreed the guy needed some kind of punishment for being so late. Kairi let out a slight bark but then curled up to nap next to her master. Eventually they heard footsteps and the door opened. Instantly ninja wire snapped and launched 4 different erasers at the man's face as 2 pails of water fell over his head. And the final piece was when a balloon filled with some red paint Naruto had found in a closet smashed and exploded on him, covering his front from head to toe in the color. The result was instant. Naruto was laughing as he held his sides and rolled on the floor. Sakuya was doubled over as she struggled to stay seated as she laughed at the man while Koji was covering his face and trying, horribly, to hold back his laughter. Kairi had even woken up and was yipping happily at seeing the Jonin. Said Jonin wore what seemed to be the standard uniform along with a face mask that covered his nose and mouth while his headband was tilted to the side to cover an eye. His hair was spiked straight up in a gravity-defying style and was supposed to be silver, rather than the now paint-filled red. The man just glared at the 3 of them with his one eye, which was twitching if one looked closely. My first impression of you 3 is that I hate you. All of you. Tsunami, I'm back. Tazuna shouted out as the group entered a small building. A young woman rushed out and after giving the old man a hug she turned and looked over the group. These are the ninjas I hired. And trust me, they've already proven to be better than what I paid. Tazuna said as he stood to the side so that his daughter could introduce herself to them. She simply gave a short bow and thanked them for protecting her father before saying she'd have dinner ready soon. As she turned back to the kitchen they all saw a little boy glaring at them. He then turned and ran upstairs before they could make anything else of it though. Let me show you guys the guest room. Tazuna led them upstairs to an empty room that sadly the 4 would have to share. But that didn't really bother them much. Once Tazuna left the room, Kakashi turned to his students. Okay, you 3, you're going to have to follow my orders to the letter while we're here so that nothing happens to you guys. Naruto nodded seeing as he knew the routine while Sakura and Sasuke gave slightly shocked looks to how serious their sensei was being before nodding themselves. Now, before I tell you what will happen, any questions? Since you both figured out the Hunter Nin was fake, then why didn't you attack and kill them both? Sasuke asked. Kakashi sighed as Naruto ignored it and just set out a sleeping bag on the floor for after dinner. One reason, we didn't know if that was the only person Zabuza had working with him. As such, if I had actually killed him and then his accomplice, I may have caused more trouble for us in the end. Besides, our mission isn't to kill our enemies but to protect Tazuna until his bridge is finished. Since Zabuza is most likely still alive, he will be coming to try and finish his mission as well as retrieve his sword. He then turned his head to Naruto. By the way, what are you going to do with that thing? Since I have a weapon, I offered it to them and Sasuke took the offer. It's a little too heavy for him, so I sealed it into a scroll. But once we get back to Konoha and put him through some strength training, he'll be able to use it. Maybe he'll get famous for using one of Kiri's famed blades against them one day. Who knows? Naruto said with a smirk as he finished setting his area up and just sat down. Kakashi nodded and then looked at Sasuke. Okay, smart move Naruto, and I can start you, Sasuke, on some light strength training while we're here. But I'm sticking with Naruto's decision to wait until we get back to Konoha before you actually receive the blade and train with it. Surprisingly, the Uchiha didn't argue this but just sighed and nodded his head in acceptance. Sakura then pointed something out that she had literally only barely noticed yet had flown over the heads of everybody else there. Wait, Naruto called Sasuke-kun Sasuke and not Uchiha. Kakashi looked over at Naruto with a curious glance, as did Sasuke, but Naruto just shrugged. He finally earned some of my respect by not only going with the orders of a superior, but then by pulling off the plan better than expected. Sure, he reacted badly to the killing intent Zabuza put out, but I had a similar response my first time as well, so I won't hold that against him. Plus, he's serious about his training and hasn't made any Uchiha or almighty remarks in a few days, so I can actually stand being around him without wanting to rip his head off. He then turned his head to Sakura. You Haruno, still have a ways to go before you get my respect. Sakura looked down while Sasuke looked indifferent to Naruto's remarks, though was secretly glad the boy would stop looking down on him like he was better. He was an Uchiha and he was better than everybody else. He just wasn't going to go back to voicing those comments until he was strong enough to back them up. Naruto had pounded it into his head that bragging without ability just pisses people off and turns them against you. Kakashi meanwhile sighed. He's starting to open up to them more, which is good, but he really needs to learn to be a bit more subtle with his words. He thought as they heard Tsunami call them all for dinner. Alright team, we'll start your training up tomorrow. For now let's just eat and relax. First I need to cut off the bandages. The Hunter Nin muttered as their hand reached out to grab the ninja wraps covering Zabuza's face. Just then said Nin's hand shot up and grabbed the hunter by the wrist before opening his eyes and looking at the masked ninja. Damn Haku, you sure are brutal. He muttered as he let go and started pulling out the needles. Please be careful Zabuza-sama, you could injure yourself even more. The person, now identified as Haku, warned. Zabuza just grunted and rubbed his neck after taking the samban out. So what happened after you hit me? And will you take off that ridiculous mask, girl? Ah, but I like the mask. Haku replied even as her hand reached up and took it off, revealing brown eyes and a young beautiful face that had a slight smile on. She shook her head as she thought about what had just happened as a frown overcame her features. After I killed you, I tried to get your blade back peacefully, but the blonde boy refused, saying he would keep it, and if we wanted it back, we'd have to pay for it. I didn't want to fight and risk blowing my cover, and I couldn't argue with him more because you could have woken up and the ruse would have been ruined, so I simply grabbed you and left. Damn that brat. Sabuza growled. The Kurai Kitsune, he truly was as devious as his namesake implied. He knew wind jutsu, apparently some fire jutsu, Kage Bunshin, said to be the best clone technique outside of the Rai Bunshin or lighting clone, and was faster and stronger than expected. And he wasn't even using the ability that landed him in the books either. Yeah, B rank only covered him due to the lack of experience, and because the kid was still growing. If he lived long enough, that kid would make S, no doubt about it. Alright Haku, we'll have to make some kind of plan while I heal up. For now, just drag my ass to the hideout. I still can't feel my legs. I swear at times you're more sadistic than I am. Haku just giggled slightly before doing as she was told. Alright you two, today I'm going to teach you how to climb trees, Kakashi declared as he led the three to a small clearing in the woods near the house. He then pulled Naruto to the side and gave him some orders in secret, which the blonde nodded to and left as Sasuke and Sakura were left in the clearing with him. Sakura looked like she was about to interrupt, but Kakashi cut her off. Without any hands. Watch. He then slowly walked over to a tree before channeling chakra to his feet and walking up without any trouble, as if the tree was still flat like the ground below them. After he walked up and then stood upside down from a branch, he turned back to his two other students. This is a chakra control exercise that all ninja learn, at latest by the time they become chunin. It works by channeling chakra to your feet to provide a stick that will let you walk and run on vertical or upside down surfaces as if they were normal ground. It can also be used for other purposes. For instance, this is how Zabuza held his sword to his back without a harness for it. Kakashi explained. The two looked eager to try it, and he tossed the kunai down to their feet. Channel the chakra to your feet and then head up the tree and mark your progress with the kunai. Since you're just starting this, it would be best to get a running start. Both bent down and picked up the small ninja knives and were about to start when Sasuke had a question. Wait, what about Naruto? What's he doing? Kakashi had pulled himself so that he was sitting on the branch rather than standing on its bottom, and was about to pull out his book when Sasuke asked his question. Kakashi paused for a moment before shrugging his shoulders, finding no harm in telling them. Naruto has already mastered this exercise, as well as the one that follows it, so I sent him to guard Tazuna today. Plus with his Kage Bunshin, he can help build the bridge faster. He'll send a clone here if something comes up and we're needed. He told them as he pulled out his book and started reading. Sasuke just turned back to his tree and channeled chakra before running up it. He made 8 steps before the bark splintered under his feet and he was pushed off. Quickly cutting a line to mark his progress, he flipped back and got ready to run again. This isn't so hard once you try it. He looked up to see Sakura already sitting on a branch as high as their sensei smiling down. Sasuke looked at her with jealousy at how she did it so easily. As well as something else he couldn't identify. Pride? Happiness? He didn't really know but blocked the feeling out since his jealousy was more prominent at the moment. Kakashi glanced over at her and gave an eye smile. By now the two had learned that he wasn't very expressive since his face was covered and had learned that gesture was his smile, so to speak. Very good, Sakura. However, the reason you find it so easy is because you have smaller reserves, which makes the chakra easier to control. Sasuke has larger reserves, making control harder for him. To help build your reserves, Sakura, I want you to keep running up and down the tree. This will not only build your reserves but your physical stamina as well. So hop to it, he said as he then turned back to his book. Sakura sighed and leapt out of the tree before getting ready to go up it again. Since Sasuke heard Kakashi explain it, he realized that she only got it so easily because she wasn't as strong as he was. At least that was how his mind interpreted it, keeping his ego safe from thinking he was the weakest on the team. He shook his head to clear his thoughts and got ready to try again. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Naruto declared as he stood off to the side while Tazuna waited a moment. Suddenly 100 clones all appeared and Naruto started giving out orders, ignoring the shocked looks of all the workers. Okay, 20 of you are to patrol the area and make sure everybody here stays safe. The other 80 are to follow Tazuna's orders and help build the bridge. The faster this thing is built, the sooner Nami can recover, and we can go home. Now hop to it. The clones nodded their understanding and set off to do the work they were told to do while the original went back to Tazuna's side. And while you have more workers to order, I'll sit over at the side to keep watch over you and stay ready in case my clones find something. Okay. Tazuna stuttered out, still in shock at the boy making 100 copies of himself and then ordering them around. Finally he shook his head and had started telling the clones where they could be used and to ask the other workers to show them how to do things. As the worker clones rushed off to do their new jobs, Tazuna walked up to one of them and had to ask a question that had been bugging him since their encounter with Zabuza. Hey, you have all the knowledge of the real one, right? Yeah, but one good hit, and we go poof and he'll have to make more. The clone answered. Alright. Is what that Zabu guy said true? Did you really? Yes. The clone interrupted as he looked to the ground. Tazuna looked shocked someone so young could kill so many and was getting worried to be so close to a boy that killed with a smile. As if sensing his worry, the clone placated his fears. Don't worry, I'm not going to go nuts and start killing everybody. That was a one-time thing, I haven't killed since then. You're not in any danger from me. To be honest, I hate killing. Then why did you? Tazuna asked, curious about the boy. The clone just got a far-off look in its eyes as it thought about whether to answer him or not. Something happened. Something really bad happened, and I couldn't handle it. I snapped and didn't calm down until after I had killed all of those people. The clone then shook its head. I better get to work on the bridge. It said to change the subject before walking off. Tazuna watched it leave before looking towards the real Naruto, who was sitting cross-legged with his head down and a blank look on his face while he had his eyes closed. So how far are you on the exercise? Naruto asked as they were all eating dinner. Tazuna had come home and quickly thanked Kakashi for sending Naruto to the bridge as his clones were speeding up production by a massive amount. While they would occasionally vanish from a small accident like hitting their own hands with the hammers and such, after 10 would dispel, the boy would replace them and have them go right back to work. If this continued, the bridge would be finished within a week or two rather than a month or so. Sakura swallowed the food she was eating before answering for both her and Sasuke as he was still scarfing down food. Well, I could do it on my first try, so sensei told me to keep doing it to build my reserves up while Sasuke-kun is almost all the way up already. Naruto nodded as Sasuke bit back a groan from being reminded that Sakura could do it so easily. Sensei said you completed this and the next step, so if you don't mind me asking, what's the next step? You're not going to go off and do it yet, are you? Naruto asked. Sakura shook her head no and just said she was curious. The blonde just shrugged his shoulders. Whatever. It's water walking. Water walking? Yeah, channeling chakra to your feet to walk on water. Naruto clarified with a shrug. Me, Sensei and Zabuza all did it in the fight, remember? The difference between water and stable ground is that the chakra output has to be constantly monitored and changed. Unlike the tree you guys are using now, the water surface is constantly moving, so you have to adjust the chakra you put out to compensate. Not only that, but it takes more chakra to stand on a liquid surface than it does a solid anyways. After you can do the tree climbing for 3 hours straight, I'll start you too on water walking. I suspect that once Sasuke actually gets the hang of the exercise, he'll be able to do it easily while you're getting close, Sakura, so I'll most likely add it to the workout routine back in Konoha after the mission. Kakashi interjected. He had already finished eating and was wanting to read his book, but Tsunami would glare and yell at him anytime he reached for it in front of Inari. So after trying just once, he promised not to pull it out while the young boy was nearby. For now though, you two just need to concentrate on finishing this exercise and getting stronger. Why do you even bother? Attention was drawn to the young boy that was glaring at all of them. You're all just going to die anyways. Gado's just gonna kill you. Tazuna and Tsunami sighed as the boy belittled and ranted towards their ninja guests while Sasuke and Sakura were wondering what was wrong with him. Kakashi ignored it, and Naruto scoffed as he went back to his food. I'd love to see him try. From what I know, Gado's just a midget with a cane. No way is someone like that going to take a ninja down. So just quit whining and we'll show you when we stop him from hurting your grandfather. What do you know, huh? Inari shouted back. You don't know our country. You don't know what it's like to suffer. Kakashi's eyes widened and he was about to say something but was cut off as Naruto slammed his non-gauntlet-covered hand on the table, getting everybody's attention. Then they all flinched at the cold and dead look in the blonde's eyes as he glared at Inari. I know nothing of suffering? I know nothing about it. Tell me, boy, Naruto spat out, making the child start to shiver. Have you ever had to live on the streets? Or how about living with the fact that your entire village wants you dead for something out of your control? What do you know? Huh. I never got to know my parents, as they died the day I was born. I was kicked out of the orphanage at 5 years old because the caretakers hated me for a reason I never knew. I had to live off garbage and scraps for 2 years before the only kind person in my life found me and gave me an apartment. But all that did was tell the village where I was at, causing the mobs that would beat and try to kill me to break in to attack me. Have you ever been beaten within an inch of your life, actually hoping for death just to make it all stop, only to be saved for it to happen all over again the next week? I had to go through that for 4 years, on my birthday no less. And then when I finally get people that actually like me as a friend and that I enjoyed being with, they're killed in front of me by enemies that just wanted to torture me. By now the blonde had begun leaking out his killing intent without realizing it, getting the civilians and his partner Genin to be shaking in fear as he continued to glare at Inari. I've known nothing but suffering my entire life, and you accuse me of not knowing it? You have a mother and grandfather that love you. You have a family that would do anything for you. I doubt you've even gone into town to see the orphans on the street that are suffering worse than you. And yet they at least aren't skulking around in self-pity trying to drag down everybody around them. They do their best to make each day better. Your grandfather is doing his best to free this country by making his bridge. And yet you spit in their faces by moping around and yelling at anybody that tries or has hope. Stop your whining, boy, because you don't know anything of hardship or suffering and have no right to even think of speaking of them. As Naruto finished shouting, he stood up and headed out, slamming the door behind him. As soon as he was gone, Inari got up and ran to his room as the others did their best to catch their breath. Sensei, was all that true? Sakura shakily asked the question on all their minds as they tried to calm themselves down. Did Naruto really go through all of that? She asked, unable to bring herself to say it. Kakashi sighed as he really didn't want to talk about it all. Yes, to all of it. His parents died in the Kyuubi attack 12 years ago, and he was placed in the orphanage like a lot of others. However, there's something about him, something I'm not at liberty to say as it's his secret, that caused the older generation to hate and despise him. The older generation then turned you, the younger, against him by saying he was a bad child or that he was dangerous. The matron that ran the orphanage eventually grew tired of him and threw him onto the streets in the middle of winter when he was 5. Naruto would be on the run from drunken mobs almost every night, and only survived by grabbing food from the trash outside. He spent 2 years like that before Hokage-sama found him hiding in an alleyway one day. The Hokage instantly took him to his place, and after finding out everything he set him up with an apartment and a stipend of money to survive on until he could become a ninja and live off his own earnings. Kakashi shook his head as he thought about it all. He had wanted to take Naruto in and adopt him, knowing who his father and mother were. But as an ANBU, he knew he'd never be able to take care of a child, so he hoped Sarutobi or Jiraiya would. But one only stopped in the village once every few months and the other was too busy running said village and being with his own family to watch over one small child. But like Naruto said, that just alerted the people to where he was. Kakashi continued. His apartment was broken into almost daily, his things stolen and broken just because. And then he started at the academy and his education was stunted for the most part, since people wanted to keep him weak and pathetic. Then he barely managed to graduate early, passing by only 4 points higher than the fail mark. He got a couple teammates and me to spend time with him, even if it was at first only for training. But that was enough for him. He for the first time in his life had friends. We were a team for about a year and a half and grew really close when it happened. I won't say as I don't think you two are ready to know about it, but his teammates died in front of him. Sasuke and Sakura were looking down, each thinking about how bad Naruto has had it, while Tsunami was freely crying as Tazuna felt he needed a drink. Kakashi only had one thing left to add at this point. Naruto blamed himself for their deaths. He still does, in fact. It's why he trains himself into the ground and grew cold to everybody. He doesn't want to let anybody die in front of him again, and he doesn't want to get close to anybody either because he doesn't want to feel that pain of loss again. Fucking brat. Saying I don't know suffering. Let's see him go through one day of my life and survive. If it wasn't for this fucking fur ball, even I would have died. Naruto muttered angrily as he stomped into a clearing in the woods. He looked around before summoning 100 clones and looking at them all. I need to blow off some steam. No jutsu, all of you against me. He then threw out a punch and dispelled the clone closest to him. This had 2 effects. It got the clones that were close enough to hear his orders begin to attack him, and told the farther ones what they were doing. Naruto just gritted his teeth and started fighting, trying to work out the anger at the boys' words. They brought up a lot of bad memories. Becoming a team. The students were now sitting on the roof of the academy as their sensei was sitting across from them with a light glare. After telling them to meet up here, he had rushed off and changed into a new pair of clothes as well as washed the paint off his face and out of his hair and rushed back, taking a little over 10 minutes, but considering how they were still snickering at his expense, they didn't seem to mind waiting a little longer. Kakashi sighed but decided to start things off. Why don't we begin with introductions? What do you want to know, sensei? Koji asked as he scratched Kairi behind her ears while she sat in his lap. Kakashi just shrugged his shoulders. Oh, just a little bit about you guys. Any likes or dislikes you have. Maybe your dream and hobbies that you enjoy. That sort of stuff. The 3 genin nodded and Koji decided to start. The name's Inuzuka Koji, and this pup here is my partner Kairi. I like dogs, beef, and hanging out with my cousin Kiba. I don't like cats, Rain, or Kiba's sister Hana. For hobbies, I train or spend time wandering the village with Kairi here. And my dream is to become the greatest hunter nin in Konoha, Koji declared with enthusiasm. Kakashi nodded and then pointed at the only girl on the team. My name's Sakuya. I don't know my family name since I'm an orphan. I like pranks, my friends, and watching the sunset. I don't like fangirls as they give Kunoichi a bad name, and I'd like to beat the shit out of them any chance I get. This got Koji to chuckle as he remembered a few of the class sparring lesson where she would actually do just that. My hobbies are training and learning to cook. And my dream for the future is to become a powerful and respected kunoichi before settling down and having a family. As soon as she was finished, Naruto started talking. I'm Uzumaki Naruto. I like ramen, pranks, and the Hokage. I don't like the time it takes to cook ramen and people who try to hold me back. My hobbies are training and pranking people who don't like me. And my dream is to be the greatest Hokage ever. Naruto shouted. Kakashi closed his one eye as he thought about his team. He had an aspiring hunter, a strong-willed kunoichi, which was rare to get right out of the academy, and a hyperactive boy wanting to lead the village. Well, time to see what they can do. I'm Hatake Kakashi. I like a lot of things and dislike just as many. As for my hobbies, I have a few dreams. All 3 students' sweat dropped and had the same thought run through their heads. All we got was his name. Anyways, now that that's out of the way, I'll tell you what we'll be doing, he said as they stared at him with expectant faces. Tomorrow, meet at Training Ground 7 at 7 a.m. for survival training. They looked confused, so he explained. There's one last test you have to pass to see if you'll be genin of the village. And I'll be giving it to you tomorrow. Then what was the point of the test we passed here? Sakuya asked. That was just to see if you had the ability to be useful and weed out the hopeless cases. This test will see if you have what it takes to be genin. Just so you know, this test has a 66% failure rate. Meaning out of the 8 teams formed this year, it's likely only 1 or 2 will pass at best. If you fail, you'll be sent back here for another year before getting to try again. This got all 3 children to pale as none of them wanted to be stuck in the academy for another year. Now, remember to be at the grounds at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Oh, and don't have breakfast either, or you'll puke. He then vanished in a swirl of leaves, leaving the 3 on the roof alone. They just looked at each other before Koji shook his head and got up. I'm gonna see if my Tusan is back from his mission and can give me some last-minute training. I'll see you both tomorrow. Kairi barked her own goodbye before jumping onto Koji's shoulder and leaving. Sakuya just sighed and turned back to Naruto. So what are you gonna do? I've gotta train. I'm gonna go see Hokage to see if he has any cool jutsus I could use tomorrow. Bye, Sakuya. Naruto shouted as he got on his feet and bolted away. Sakuya stared at where he was not even a second, somewhat impressed with his speed before shaking her head. Her teammates were getting some last-minute training and so she would too. With that thought she got up and left to head home to grab her supplies. This looks promising. Haku muttered to herself as she knelt down and plucked an herb from the clearing she was coming up on. Looking around she could see the clearing was filled with different herbs that could be useful to her or her master. With a slight smile she continued her work and gathered them up until she moved further into the clearing and froze. Lying up against a tree, clothes torn and dirted in various places, was the blonde boy from Konoha. The one who had stolen Zabuza's sword and ruined his fight against Kakashi. The supposed Kurai Kitsune that Zabuza had told her was to be killed if he got in their way again or refused to return Zabuza's prize blade. Haku narrowed her eyes as she slowly stalked up to his prone form to look him over when she froze at the sight of his face. It wasn't the calm he showed during the battle, or even the amusement he had shown when arguing to keep the sword. It was twisted in pain as he twitched occasionally in his sleep. It was almost as if he was having a nightmare. But of what, she couldn't possibly know. That was when Zabuza's words came back to her. Haku, that blonde brat. Stay away from him if you can. Only fight him if you must. He's dangerous and I'm not sure on whether or not you could defeat him. Zabuza ordered as she laid him down in his bed to rest and recover. She frowned slightly at his caution considering normally he would praise her as someone even he would hate to face. What's so dangerous about him? The former swordsman merely sighed as he rested his head back against the pillows before explaining. I don't have the full story here, Haku. I don't think anybody does outside of Konoha or IWA, since it was them he rampaged against. You saw those 2 with him, right? Well, did you hear me ask if they were new or weak and his reply of both? He had a couple teammates before those 2. I don't know what happened since everybody is really tight-lipped on it, but the word on the street is that they got killed in front of him and he snapped. Sort of like how you said you did against your father and that mob. Haku flinched slightly when he brought that up before nodding. That pain from losing her mother and then being called a monster from her own father, coupled with the fact her own father was trying to kill her, made her lose control of her powers and kill them all before she calmed down to see what she had done. She had then run and shortly after met Zabuza. If this boy had a similar experience, she could only imagine how badly he reacted to kill so many with a smile. She was slightly curious as to how the boy kept moving on since she could only do so after Zabuza found her and took her in. Did he have someone precious to help him through his pain? Just avoid fighting him if you can, Haku. Zabuza repeated, snapping her out of her thoughts. I'll try to handle him after dealing with Kakashi and I'll make sure to get my sword back too. Haku merely nodded as she left to gather some of the supplies that would be needed to get her master back to full strength, but her mind kept wandering back to the blonde. I wonder what exactly happened to you that you can only show your pain when you sleep? Haku muttered as she came closer to the boy as he slept. She had wanted to speak with him and see what he was like outside of a combat situation. Maybe get to know him and see how he was dealing with his loss. However, she also knew this could be her best shot to take him out for her master's ambition. He was a threat, and a thief too now that she remembered it. It was obvious the blade wasn't on his person currently. He probably had it sealed away or left it back at the bridge builder's house. She would have to find it. But for now she could do something she'd been thinking about for the past couple days. Slowly her hand reached out to him. Get out of here. Run. Koji and I. Naruto-kun, move. Sakuya-chan. No. No. Naruto shouted as he woke with a start. Instinct kicked in as he wasn't alone and he had the girl pinned by her throat in less than a second. His gauntlet-covered left pinning her down and slowly choking her as his right was cocked back with a ball of swirling blue chakra. But all Haku noticed were his eyes. They were blood red, no pupil or anything else. It was just as if his sclera was blood red and had overtaken the rest of his eyes. Yet through the dark and violent glare they held, she could see the pain coursing through them. Naruto was about to slam his jutsu into her before the whispers of his darkest day stopped, and he realized he wasn't dreaming anymore. His features softened as he actually took stock of what he was doing, pinning a random girl down by her throat and about to use an A-rank jutsu against her for no reason at all. With a gasp, he dropped the jutsu and let go of her as he stumbled back, his eyes returning to their normal blue hues shortly after. The girl started coughing and rubbing her throat as Naruto was panting from the adrenaline rush he had woken up with. "Oh Kami, I'm so sorry. I just did all that off instinct, I didn't mean it. I'm sorry." "It's cough, it's okay. I shouldn't have snuck up on a sleeping ninja." Haku apologized as she rubbed her throat where his metal-covered hand had been choking her. After a few seconds she looked up to see Naruto just staring at her with a frown on his face, and a look that obviously was guilt. "Really, it's alright. I still feel bad about it. I mean, I just attacked you for no reason. Is there anything I could do to make it up to you?" Haku just stayed silent for a moment before looking around the clearing. "Well, I was picking herbs before finding you sleeping here. If you have the time, I wouldn't mind some help getting them all." Naruto just gave a slight smile and nodded as she began to point them out for him to grab. As they worked, she figured she'd try and make small talk to learn more about him and his team. Plus, since he really seemed truly sorry about attacking her, she figured he'd never suspect her to be an enemy or having ulterior motives. "So, Ninja-san, what were you doing out here? It's not exactly good to sleep in the middle of the woods. You could get sick." Naruto suppressed the urge to snort at that. He couldn't get sick. QB pumped his immune system up to the level that even poisons couldn't kill him. Slow him down temporarily, yes, but never kill him. "I'm here with my sensei and teammates to guard someone as they work. But last night, well, I got a little frustrated with the client's family, so I came out here to blow off some steam. Must have fallen asleep afterwards, I guess," Naruto answered. Haku merely nodded as she plucked a few more herbs. "I see. So what happened? If you don't mind, that is," she added, actually curious to what could possibly set him off to know to avoid it. Naruto shook his head before responding. "The client's grandson said some stuff that he didn't have any right to talk about, as if he knew it all. It just got under my skin and I argued a bit before heading out here so I wouldn't snap and attack him." "I see. But aren't ninjas supposed to be in control of their emotions? I mean, that's what I've heard from the few ninja I've met before." "I know, but this what he said had really hit close to something I'd rather not talk about," Naruto answered quickly, showing he didn't want to talk about that subject anymore. Haku was slightly discouraged but decided to drop it and turn to something else. "So you said you're here with your sensei and teammates. What are they like?" "Sensei is alright, just really lazy when he can get away with it. But my teammates, one's a stuck-up prick and the other is a useless fangirl to said prick. I honestly don't want anything to do with them." This actually caught Haku off guard as Zabuza told her Konoha practically beats teamwork into their children's heads. That was partially why Konoha was seen as the strongest. They always worked together and covered each other's faults to the point they were a near unstoppable machine if they could actually build up the momentum. It's why Zabuza would always try to separate any Konoha ninjas he came across from their teammates, as they would always work together to fight more effectively than most could handle. To hear that this boy wanted nothing to do with his teammates was strange considering everything she knew of his village. "Why is that? I mean, aren't you teammates? Doesn't that mean you're supposed to work together? Be friends?" His response caught the girl even further off guard. He scoffed the moment she said friends. "They aren't my real team. Don't get me wrong, when needed, I'll work with them without a problem. But outside of those situations they do nothing but get on my nerves. We aren't a real team, just people stuck together due to outside influence and need. My real team." Naruto's eyes seemed to glaze over as he thought back to them. "My real team died a long time ago." Haku was silent as she gathered up the herbs the two and picked and placed them in her basket to carry before she stood. "Do you have anything precious to you?" she suddenly asked, catching the boy off guard. "Anybody you care about and would do anything to protect? Because I believe that when a person has something precious to keep safe, that is when they gain true strength." Naruto smiled as he stood. "Preaching to the choir there. I've always lived my life to protect others. I know what you mean and agree with it. But it's when you lose the things that are precious to you that your strength becomes your greatest pain as well." Naruto shook his head before walking off. "It was nice talking with you. And again, I'm sorry about when I woke up." Haku just nodded her head and walked in the opposite direction. After talking with him, she could see the boy had lived like her. He wasn't a bad person, but rather he just seemed to have lost his way after losing those precious to him. Much like she would if Zabuza were to be taken from her. "I'm truly sorry we must be enemies. I feel that we might have been friends had we met under different circumstances." "Ah, Naruto. Welcome back." Kakashi had just stepped out of the house when he saw Naruto walking up from the woods. After taking a look at his slightly disheveled appearance, he blocked the frown that wanted to come out. "Are you up to watching over Tazuna again today, Naruto? Let me shower and change into clean clothes and I'll be good." "Okay then. I'll be taking Sasuke and Sakura out again to train them up some more. Send a clone if something happens," he said as the two named genin stepped out behind him. Both saw Naruto, and while Sasuke was trying to stare at him curiosity while keeping his aloof and uncaring appearance, Sakura couldn't bring herself to look anywhere near him. Sighing to himself, Naruto walked past, but as he came by the genin he spoke a little bit and kept walking. I neither need nor want your pity because of my life story. Just focus on getting stronger so that you can stop it from happening to you or those you care for. Sasuke and Sakura looked at him in slight shock as he just walked past them into the house. They didn't have to be ninja to tell that he was still mad about what Inari had said last night. It was written all over his face. But they weren't expecting him to say something like that. The two turned to each other silently before Sasuke just shrugged and walked off towards where Kakashi was waiting with Sakura, following a moment later after glancing back at the house one last time. As Naruto came out of the bathroom with a towel wrapped around himself, heading towards the room his team was staying in, he caught Inari watching him from his door. When Naruto turned and faced him, he flinched and closed the door to hide himself. Naruto shook his head and continued on to get dressed and head out. Behind the door, though, Inari was thinking about what Kakashi had told him last night. The boy was sitting at the pier nearby their house just staring out at the water with a few tears coming from his eyes as Kakashi walked up and sat next to him. After a few minutes of silence, the boy asked the question on his mind. Why? You're going to have to be a bit more specific. Why doesn't he cry about it all? Why does he act like nothing's wrong? Kakashi sighed as Inari asked, but this was originally why he came out in the first place, so he answered him. Because he knows crying doesn't solve anything. The last time he cried was at his old teammate's funeral. He hasn't shed a tear since, as if they all just dried up. When he was young, crying just seemed to make the mobs attack him more. When his old team died, crying didn't bring them back. He seemed to figure that crying about his problems just made people dislike him more. It never brought anything positive, so he just stopped doing it. He was like that when we were all a team together too. He never cried, no matter how bad an injury he got or anything like it. And then when his old team died, he cried about it for a while, but he saw that it wasn't doing anything, so he just stopped. Kakashi turned to find Inari looking up at him and repressed another sigh at how the boy was still crying. Listen, Inari, what you said really got to him. Naruto has had a horrible life for the most part. And the worst part about it, in his opinion, is that he knows there are others out there that have had it or do have it worse than he does. He didn't mean to snap at you, but seeing how you are when you live what many would consider a good life just rubbed him the wrong way. The man stood as he turned back to head into the house as Inari turned back to the water. Make sure not to stay out too late, your mother would be worried sick about you. After hearing the boy mutter and okay, Kakashi headed back inside to let the boy think things over. Sensei? Yes, Sakura? The two genin were still running up and down trees for training, with Kakashi keeping an eye on them while reading his book from a little ways off. Well, Sakura was running up and down. Sasuke was still having trouble reaching the top before falling off and restarting at the bottom. Do you think you can help me when we get back to Konoha with something? Sasuke was resting for a moment and looked to the scarecrow to see him shrug as Sakura was resting up in a branch. She had been getting better at holding the chakra flow while running up and down, as she could do it for an hour and a half now before she had to rest. I don't want to be a weak link to the team. Kakashi gave a smile at her attitude towards bettering herself. We'll have to wait and see when we get back to Konoha now, won't we? If anything, I can have Naruto train Sasuke in using his new sword and give you some pointers and tricks to use when we get back. I'm proud that you're going to start training harder, Sakura. She just nodded as she took another deep breath to fill her lungs before jumping down from the branch and starting her runs up and down the tree again. Sasuke also got back to his runs shortly after. While he was a little miffed that Sakura might be getting one-on-one time with their sensei, he remembered what Naruto said when they first became a team. Sensei and I were fine on our own, but the council was throwing a fit to get him to teach you. The only compromise Hokage-sama could do was to place you on my team. They wanted to just drop me and have him exclusively teach you. After seeing his Sharingan, Sasuke could easily tell that was why the council fought so hard to make sure Kakashi would be his sensei. As the only other person in Konoha with the Uchiha Kekkai Genkai, only Kakashi could teach him the subtleties of it that he couldn't learn from anyone other than another user. While he was glad to know people cared about his education that much, after getting to know Naruto and Kakashi, he was not liking how the council seemed to be putting him above everything else. He liked that they wanted to give him the best, but he never wanted to get that at the cost of taking it from another. Killing Itachi was his goal, but he didn't want to be considered as bad as the man to do it, and actions like that could build resentment towards him and his clan once he got around to rebuilding it. Besides, he figured training one-on-one with Naruto wouldn't be too bad. He didn't have his Sharingan yet, so there wasn't anything Kakashi could truly teach him that would be something only he could use. And Naruto said he had a weapon. Since it didn't seem like Kakashi had one, then this would probably be something Naruto would be able to help him with better. So let Sakura get her special training from Kakashi. He had another source to make sure he still got strong enough to do what he must. The days passed without incident for the rest of the week. Naruto would watch over the bridge with Tazuna while also making clones to help build. Thanks to the memory feedback of the clones, they wound up getting better and more competent each day, to the point that the old man would simply give them simple orders and they'd get straight to work without having to be taught what to do. Sasuke made it to the top of the tree 2 days after Naruto's little explosion, while Sakura was able to last 3 hours on the 4th day. Kakashi wasn't going to start them on water walking until they returned though, so since Sasuke finished before Sakura, he started him on physical exercises to get him stronger to use the Kubikiri upon the return home. For Sakura, he merely taught her a concealment genjutsu so that she could hide herself and her allies from her enemies. There wasn't enough time to make her strong enough to be offensive, and she knew it as well, so he instead gave her a technique to keep her alive longer and help Naruto or Sasuke. Alright guys, it's been a week. If the damage done to Zabuza has been treated correctly, then this will be around the time he can start showing up to attack, so we're all going to the bridge to guard Tazuna. Naruto, leave some clones behind to watch over the house. Kakashi ordered as the three genin were eating breakfast. Naruto silently nodded and created 10 clones that then all went off to get into defensive positions around the house while staying out of sight. While Tazuna was a little worried at what Kakashi had said, he felt safe in their hands, so was willing to go along with it all without complaint. After eating, they all headed to the bridge, but what was found upon their arrival was troubling. A thick mist over the bridge with all the men either knocked out or dead. Tazuna wanted to run up to them, but Kakashi held his arm out. Sakura, you guard Tazuna. Sasuke, Naruto, you both handle any helpers Zabuza has. I'll take the man himself. Oh, you think the brats are gonna be any good against my apprentice Kakashi? Slowly the mist cleared up enough for them to see they were surrounded by a group of Zabuza clones. The real Zabuza stepped up further down the bridge with the fake hunter at his side. Across his back was what looked like an ordinary broadsword. I'm going to take back my sword to Kakashi. Can't believe I had to bring out my old training blade. He muttered at the end as he adjusted the blade on his back. Naruto, Sasuke. If you would please. Kakashi calmly spoke and the two boys nodded, Sasuke with a smirk as Naruto's face was a cold glare. The two vanished from sight but then reappeared back to back in front of Kakashi as all the clones dropped into puddles of water. Hey, I expected that from the blonde, but you've been working the other one pretty hard, haven't you? Haku here may have a challenge now. He taunted while on the inside both of them were worried. Zabuza believed he could handle Kakashi if he went at him right, and he was sure Haku had a chance against the blonde. Or at the very least could hold him off enough for him to finish off the S-ranked foe he had before he would join in, and then they would double-team him. But with another of Kakashi's students able to fight, Haku's chances had dropped considerably, but they needed to appear confident to try and throw off their enemies. It was a commonly employed tactic that worked fairly well against the young or the new right away and could throw off the more experienced after a bit of effort. Make it appear that nothing is bothering you and that everything is going your way, and the enemy will be unnerved by how everything they do seems to be failing and they could lose their cool and mess up. Then you swoop in for the kill and bitch about how close they really came to winning afterwards. If you showed how things unnerved you, then the enemy would be quicker to employ the strategy against you. Well, Haku, why don't you go play for a little while so me and Kakashi can have some fun? Zabuza said as he waited for Kakashi to make a move. Haku merely took a few steps forward before vanishing. Too slow! Sasuke shouted as he rushed forward with a kunai and parried a strike from Haku's Senbon. The two traded a few blows before Haku jumped back to dodge a flaming fist from Naruto that struck right where she was a second ago. The girl had never really been happier to wear a mask as she was frowning and sweating just from being too close to the hit. My fight with just the Kurai Kitsune was already going to be difficult. With this boy here, I don't think I could win. Haku ducked under a kick from Naruto before holding Sasuke's kunai back with a Senbon needle. Give up. You can't take both of us on. Sasuke taunted. While she knew it was true, she didn't let that fact slip and instead replied as if it wasn't bothering her that she was fighting them. Oh really? Well, I feel as though I have the advantage right now. Sasuke looked confused before she raised up one hand and started using one-handed seals for a jutsu. This got Naruto, Sasuke and Kakashi to go wide-eyed. She can use one-handed seals? Was the simultaneous though of all three before Haku stomped the ground to activate her jutsu. Suetun, Sensatsu Sui Sho. Water release, 1,000 flying water needles of death. As she did, the water from Zabuza's clones rose up and formed needles that surrounded Naruto and Sasuke before launching themselves at the two at high speeds. Both boys channeled chakra to their legs to dodge and managed to get away without a hit as Haku merely stood up straight and looked them both over. What's wrong? I thought I couldn't fight both of you at once. You sure we need to do this? Gato doesn't think Zabuza can do it, plus he plans on taking him out afterwards anyways. This is just a little extra insurance in case the guy actually does lose again. Two thugs spoke as they were walking up to Tazuna's home. They didn't bother trying to knock or anything but rather just kicked the door in and walked inside. Tsunami was in the kitchen making lunch for herself and Inari when the door went down and froze, terrified of what they were there for. That her? Yep. Listen here lady, you're coming with us by order of Gato. Before either man could make a move though they all turned when Inari walked into the room rubbing his eyes. What's all the noise, Ka? The words died in his throat as he saw the thugs staring at him. Do we need both of them? Nope. Good, I wanted someone to test my new sword on. Both men smirked as one walked over and was about to draw his sword to kill the boy when Tsunami shouted at them. Touch him and I'll bite my tongue off. He's just a little boy, leave him out of this. Both men scoffed at her when one came up and grabbed her. You're lucky kid. You can thank mommy for saving your worthless life. Or he can cover his eyes, because he won't want to see this. Both men froze before the one near Tsunami found his hand ripped off her and stabbed with a kunai, a Naruto clone standing in front of him and glaring at him. Before the man could react, Naruto struck him in the head with another kunai, killing him as his partner growled at him. "You little shit! You think I'm going to let you get away with that?" Before he could make a move though, he was gripped from behind and had his head violently twisted, breaking his neck. The Naruto clone behind him merely looked down at his body with a cold glare. "I hate killing, but you bastards just couldn't leave well enough alone, could you?" he muttered before turning to see Tsunami hugging Inari close. "Do the two of you know of any other safe places you could go until all this is over? If they came here, then that means that Zabuza is attacking at the bridge." When Tsunami nodded, he sighed. "Good, we'll escort you there before dispelling. Boss is gonna need every bit of chakra he can get to fight." "Damn. You okay, Sasuke?" Naruto asked as he stopped moving. Sasuke was right behind him panting but otherwise okay, so he nodded his head in reply. After Haku had revealed she could use one-handed signs, the fight had taken a small turn for the worse. Small in that, Haku knew Sasuke was weaker than Naruto and started targeting him so that he would have to devote his energy towards protecting him rather than blowing the fake hunter away. After a particularly close call with another water needle attack, Haku activated a jutsu that surrounded them in a dome of ice mirrors, showing that the boy had a Kekkai Genkai. He then entered the mirrors and was now too fast for Sasuke to see, and Naruto was having difficulties keeping up himself. Especially since the girl continued to focus mainly on Sasuke. "If there was ever a time for you to get your eyes, now is it," Naruto growled as he looked from mirror to mirror trying to find where Haku would strike from next. Since her image was reflected in all of them though, he was only making it so that he had the slightest of warnings of when she would attack. "Just stop protecting him and I'm sure you could stand against Mikurai Kitsune. He seems to be nothing but dead weight to you anyways," Haku taunted. She sounded confident but on the inside she was cursing her luck and barely holding out. While Naruto couldn't reach her since he was too busy protecting Sasuke, he had been tossing kunai in her direction and getting extremely close. The boy was used to high-speed combat, and if he could divert his full focus to her she would have already lost, and she damn well knew it. "Dead weight? I'm an Uchiha. I'm the best there is," Sasuke shouted as he ran through hand signs for a jutsu. "Katan, Gokakyu no Jutsu," he shouted as he launched a fireball at one of the mirrors. However, he was shocked to see that the mirror hadn't melted in the slightest. "These mirrors are made from my bloodline, the Hayatan. Ice release, they're reinforced by my chakra so that they can withstand fire. A weak jutsu such as that wouldn't be able to harm them," Haku explained as she readied Senbon in both hands and even raised them up to make a showing of it. "As I said, dead weight." She taunted again before needles were launched out at high speeds from every direction. Sasuke didn't even get to see what happened before Naruto shoved him to the ground and started deflecting them with a kunai in his right and his gauntlet with his left. "Sasuke, what did I tell you? A name means shit if you can't back it up. And right now, you can't, so don't fall for her taunts and get sloppy, damn it," Naruto shouted as he blocked the last needle. Sasuke stood up scowling but didn't say anything. Naruto was the only reason he wasn't beaten yet, and he hated it. But he still couldn't handle any shots to his pride like being called dead weight. That's why he reacted so poorly. "The only other fire jutsu you know is that multi one from a week ago, right? Meaning that one you just shot was your strongest, right?" Naruto asked, and Sasuke nodded. "Alright then, I think I have a plan. Launch another one, but this time, aim at me." "What? Why would I shoot at you?" Sasuke asked in shock. Secretly he would love nothing more than to beat the boy for all the hell he had already put him through, but he recognized that that could happen later. Right now they had to work together. "My Hitsum is about as strong as your Gokakyu, but if that couldn't do it then I know mine won't either. I have a couple other fire jutsu but none of them would work in this situation. That's why I'm going to use the full power of my gauntlet," Naruto explained, though Sasuke was still lost. "Listen, I'm honestly a wind element. Meaning fire jutsu are extremely hard for me and will always be my weakest jutsu. The Kiba no Makai was a gift, and it helps me get around that since just by channeling chakra into it I can create and manipulate fire. If you launched a full power fireball at me I could then use my gauntlet to enhance its power and redirect it to the mirrors." Seeing his plan, Sasuke nodded and was about to gather the chakra for the attack when another barrage of needles flew out. Sasuke brought out a couple kunai and stood back to back with Naruto as they began deflecting them. "If you believe I'll just let you use an attack that has you so confident, then you're sorely mistaken. Zabuza-sama ordered me to take care of the two of you, and I will not fail. TCH, another Mizu Bunshin. When are you going to stop copying my moves and actually fight Kakashi?" Zabuza called out as he cut through another clone in the mist he had created. The two had started up shortly after Haku trapped his two students in his ice mirrors and had mostly been attacking clones of the other as they tried to catch them off guard. Zabuza would attack what seemed to be the real Kakashi just for him to substitute with a water clone at the very last second, and then retaliate just for Zabuza to do the exact same. The Kirinin hefted up his broadsword on his shoulder, as he had his eyes closed, and went about locating his foe through hearing. This was what he felt was a mistake in the first battle. He tried to go against Kakashi's Sharingan head-on. A retarded strategy even if the man wasn't a true-blooded Uchiha. You never go against those eyes straight on unless you know you're vastly superior. Kakashi was S-ranked and he was A, even without the eye charging head-on was a stupid idea. Kakashi used to be A-ranked like himself. However, after the incident that spawned the Kurai Kitsune, he apparently had upped his own training and soon pushed through the boundaries of the top level, joining the few legends in their world as an S-ranked threat. Zabuza, though, had not believed the hype and ended up paying for it in their first fight. Now he knew better, and still he knew he was only holding out because his stealth was better, and because the man couldn't see through his mist. If he lost either advantage, then he was most likely done for, especially since he was using a crappy sword and not his kubikiri. Katan, Hozenka no Jutsu! Kakashi shouted as multiple small fireballs flew out of the mist at Zabuza. Rolling out of the way, Zabuza used a shunshin to get near Kakashi, and swung his sword down. Rather than cut through a clone this time though, he was parried by a kunai. You know, if you still had your real sword I might not have tried this, Zabuza. It was then Kakashi noticed due to their close proximity that the man had both of his eyes closed. Oh? You've been fighting based on hearing alone? That's pretty good. Spare me the compliments. If I opened my eyes you'd catch me in a genjutsu, and that would be the end of it. True, but not all genjutsu are sight-oriented, you know. He replied, getting the man to gasp and jump back as Kakashi whistled. Thinking he might have been caught, Zabuza froze and went to pulse his chakra for a release when he was bit down hard on all his limbs by various dogs, all with vests and Konoha headbands on. What kind of genjutsu is this? Zabuza shouted out as he opened his eyes to see the dogs holding him in place. Kakashi just chuckled, getting the man to look at him. Not a genjutsu, I lied. I summoned those dogs during our little game of hide-and-seek in the mist quietly. They'd been waiting for the opportune moment to pounce this entire time. But how could they track me when they couldn't see me? Kakashi just flicked at his nose, making Zabuza feel stupid that he didn't notice it. When your eyes don't work, just follow your nose. These are my specially trained ninja hounds, only an Inuzuka hound could possibly match them. It's over for you, Zabuza. Damn it! We need an opening! Naruto shouted as he deflected more needles away from him and Sasuke. Things were starting to get out of hand. Haku had been upping her needle barrage with each passing run and Naruto was starting to lag behind. He and Sasuke had a plan they were sure they could use to win but couldn't get the opening to use it. While Naruto was sure he could simply outlast anything the fake hunter tried, he was confident that Sasuke couldn't and could possibly die. Despite his dislike of the Uchiha, it was something Naruto would never allow to happen. I can't keep guarding you like this. Not when she's upping her speed to levels that would take me going all out. You've been holding back? Sasuke asked incredulously as he pulled a saban out of his arm. This bit of information really got on the boy's nerves because if Naruto had been holding back, then why didn't he stop and simply destroy his opponent? My full power can't be used when allies are nearby. It's too destructive and I don't have that much control over it. You might get killed in the backlash. So that was why. Well, Sasuke was torn between hating how Naruto seemed to be casually dismissing his strength and slight happiness at how he refused to risk harming his teammate. Seeing Haku ready another attack, he shoved the thoughts to the side and focused on keeping himself safe so that Naruto wouldn't have to. Come on, focus. I'm not going to rely on Naruto to protect me. I can do this. I just need to see her, and then I can counter. Sasuke thought as he kept his eyes focused on the mirrors. With a slight twitch, the Senbon started flying, and while Naruto was deflecting them with ease, Sasuke was barely holding them back and even saw the blonde blocking a few that were coming at his blind spots. Come on, focus. He kept straining his eyes as he blocked more of Haku's attack as he slowly came to see a small shadow moving from mirror to mirror. Focus, the next barrage came and Sasuke was staring to do a little better, as the shadow seemed to gain a human shape. Almost Sasuke suddenly tossed his kunai at one of the mirrors as the needle stopped, just as the shadow seemed to jump into it. Naruto smirked over at his comrade as the raven-haired boy pulled out another kunai. Finally starting to see things, aren't you? Sasuke just smirked back at him. Haku, however, was having different thoughts. He's starting to catch on to me like the other one. I need to end this now before it's too late. Preparing more Senbon in between her fingers for an assault, Haku quickly leapt out of the mirrors and started launching pinpoint strikes at her enemy's nerves. However, it was not to be, as Naruto was still able to block every strike coming for him and Sasuke was able to as well, though with some effort. Again, just as Haku returned to her mirrors, a kunai bounced off it. This time though it was far closer to actually hitting her, and she knew it. Looking up at the boy, she gasped at seeing Sasuke. Your eyes. Sasuke looked confused as Naruto looked over and grinned. Well, someone finally caught up. Seeing Sasuke was still confused, he pointed to the kunai in his hand so he could see his reflection. A grin matching Naruto's broke out upon seeing the red eyes with one tomo in the left and two in the right. Sharingan. He whispered as he looked back up and smirked towards the blonde as he got into a ready stance. What do you say we use that plan of yours now? I say it's about damn time. Naruto shouted back as another barrage of needles came from the mirrors. Now that he had the Sharingan, Naruto didn't bother to protect Sasuke but rather deflected all the needles aimed at him. It wasn't needed anyways, as Sasuke blocked them all himself before turning to Naruto and running through hand signs as fast as he could. Katan, Gokakyu no Jutsu! He shouted as he launched a large fireball towards his teammate. Naruto grinned and charged chakra into the gauntlet on his fist before seemingly reaching out and grabbing the fire. With a large yell, his chakra output spiked noticeably as he seemed to raise the fireball above his head, his eyes closed in focus with a bit of sweat rolling down his face. This is stronger than last time, Sasuke. You really have improved. But now I'm gonna show you just why I'm a B-rank ninja. The fire in his hands flared before growing larger and turning a light blue as the flames intensified. Sasuke watched in awe as Haku was in her mirror staring in shock. I can't let that hit me. I'll be finished, she thought as she began to launch Senbon at the blonde as fast as she could. Sasuke saw and was about to move when Naruto shouted, "Duck! Now!" Sasuke hit the ground as Naruto spun around and began to swing the fire around himself, melting the Senbon before they could hit. Even after the threat of the needles was gone, he didn't stop but rather kept spinning, spreading the blue fire into a ring around himself. Take this. Naruto suddenly stopped spinning and pulled his gauntlet out of the fire before reaching back and punching the ring directly in front of him. The result was instant. The ring expanded and blasted all the mirrors, barely going over Sasuke's head as he felt the heat from the jutsu across his back. The mirrors, when hit, shattered on impact. Realizing she wouldn't be able to recover her technique, Haku cut the chakra to it and leapt out of a shard only to see Naruto in her face before she could react. He quickly punched her in the stomach, getting her to fold over his face, before he delivered multiple punches to her chest and finished his barrage with a spinning kick to her face that sent her rolling along the ground. So strong, Sasuke muttered as he stood up. He could easily see, especially now that he had his bloodline, Naruto was far more powerful than a genin. In fact, he'd say he should be a jonin with the strength he had. So why was he still at the lowest rank in the system? Why hadn't he been promoted yet? Sasuke watched as Naruto walked up to the false hunter before shaking his head and walking over himself. That was a problem for another time. So what are we gonna do with her? Naruto shrugged his shoulders before looking over to where they heard sounds of chirping birds. The mist began to clear and they saw Kakashi dash forward with a hand of lightning and stab Zabuza in the chest. Don't know, but for now we'll tie her up. With Zabuza gone, things should be simple now, Naruto said as he reached into his pouch and pulled out some metal wire and tied the girl up so that she couldn't move. That was when they heard the tapping, like wood hitting concrete. The pace was recognizable as a walking stick. Everyone turned to the noise to see a short man in a business suit walking up the unfinished side of the bridge. Zabuza, I see you fucked up yet again, huh? He sneered before actually seeing Kakashi pull his hand out of Zabuza's chest. Oh my, you truly did fuck up, haven't you? He mocked as Zabuza weakly turned his head to the man. Gato, he muttered before facing Kakashi again. Take care of Haku for me. We'll try our best, Zabuza, Kakashi promised as the Kirin closed his eyes and collapsed. Kakashi turned to face Gato as the mist finally cleared up, showing that he had hundreds of bandits behind him, all looking at the ninja with grins and sneers. Ha, so much for the demon of the mist. More like kitten. Now you, ninja! Stand aside and let me kill the bridge builder, and you'll be allowed to live, Gato ordered. Kakashi calmly walked up to Sasuke and Naruto, seeing they had defeated and tied up their opponent before nodding. Good job, you two, he said, clearly ignoring the businessman, much to his irritation and rage. How are your two on injuries and chakra? I'm good, sensei, you know why, Naruto muttered as he kept a cold glare on Gato and his thugs. Sasuke just shrugged. A little numb in my arms from the Chiksamban, but otherwise I'm alright. Oh, and I woke up my Sharingan too, he said as he smirked at the older man. Kakashi nodded and gave an eye smile. Congratulations, Sasuke. When we get home, I'll help you out with that. Hey, don't ignore me, Gato shouted, turning the Uchiha and Hataki's attention back to the short man. I said move aside. Or do you want to die? Tazuna's bridge is the hope for this country. We're not about to let you stop him. Today you fall, Gato, Kakashi calmly declared. Gato snarled before waving his arm forward to get the men to charge at the three. Tajua Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Multiple shadow clone technique. With a large blast of smoke, the bandits froze because when it cleared was an army of the blonde boy all glaring at him the way the original was just a few seconds ago. Even Gato was scared stiff. I'm gonna give all of you one chance, Naruto spoke. Leave Gato and this country for good, or die here and now. The bandits barely took any time to think as they started to run back to the ships they had to bring them there. A few even tripped over themselves and were slightly trampled before struggling to their feet and running away. Yet all of them had left Gato, gave him a wide berth in fact, as they ran. Said businessman had fallen on his ass and was staring up at the army the boy had summoned in fear as the original calmly walked forward. Wait! Gato cried out as the boy kept his slow walk forward. I'll give you whatever you want. Money. Land. Women. Power. I'll give you anything. Just leave me be. He cowered as Naruto stopped in front of him. He waited with bated breath before Naruto struck him hard in the head, knocking him unconscious. He quickly tied the man up before dispelling his clones and walking back. You couldn't give me what I want, he muttered as he rejoined Sasuke and Kakashi. The elder merely nodded his head as Sasuke looked impassive at the display. Inwardly he was both awed and jealous. Mainly at how Naruto had made so many Kage Bunshin with such ease. He was also fully expecting the blonde to just kill Gato and be done with it, but apparently Naruto had different plans. The 3, plus 2 captives, calmly walked over to a seemingly empty portion of the bridge before the air seemed to shimmer and Tazuna and Sakura appeared. Good work keeping Tazuna hidden with your genjutsu, Sakura. Kakashi complimented before facing said bridge builder. He had picked up the hunter and was holding her under his arm as Naruto had Gato over his shoulder. Sasuke merely had his hands in his pockets as he looked on impassively. Tazuna, Nami's troubles are over. Naruto. He told before turning to his student as the blonde merely dropped the man at Tazuna's feet. The old drunk's face went wide with shock before he smiled back at the ninja. Thank you for everything. You've saved our country. He bowed to them, getting Sakura and Kakashi to look a little sheepish while Sasuke merely smirked. Naruto though had a look of detachment as he picked Gato back up. Let's just head back to the house. I'm tired from today and I just want to sleep, he muttered before walking away. Tazuna just looked at him as Kakashi sighed but started to follow with the rest walking up shortly after.